Good evening. Let's go ahead and get started. Board of Directors meeting April 25th, 6:02 p.m. We'll start with the owner's comments period. I see from the sign-in list there are two owners who would like to make remarks. I see Dave Finnegan making his way to the podium.
Hi there. I'm Dave Finnegan, Pioneer member. I think Jackson Mummy was here before me, but he was here before everybody. I gave you a long list, and I must apologize, about a month ago, of all the things we should do for sustainability here in Celebration, and I decided that it's best to eat the elephant a bite at a time. So the first bite of the elephant might be for homeowners to get more excited about solar. So I had joined the Orange County Solar Co-op, 500 Orange County folks plus me, and we had a competition among all of the solar companies in Florida, and 27 bid for the job. And the one that was chosen was ESA Renewables, and they did a great job. So rather than ask us to do the same thing, I went to ESA Renewables and said, how would you like to come to Celebration and tell Celebration what you can do, because you've already been vetted by Orange County and a couple more co-ops. So I got on the back porch and I asked, this is many months ago, who would like to have solar installed, and I got 65 positive replies. So this is Sean Ehrlich. He's from ESA Renewables, and he wants to take a minute of my time.
Hey, how's it going? So as Dave mentioned, we did service the Orange County Solar Co-op. We've done that a number of other times. We've replicated that model. We had a program down in St. Lucie County, and recently we actually have partnered with OUC in Orlando. They have sent us the data for all 90,000 of their utility accounts, and we're looking at servicing that. So we're trying to bring this similar kind of model as a benefit to the residents of Celebration, where we have actually a premium solar product that no one here has access to. I know that in Celebration, aesthetics are a really important issue to you guys, so we actually have something that looks entirely different, that performs entirely different, and even has a new type of skin that you can put on it to make it blend in with certain different types of roofs, and it looks fantastic. So our goal is to try to bring a better, more high-tech solar product that is not very commonly available at a co-op price, where the homeowners would band together and we would be able to do a lower per unit cost, because we're able to get our costs down and try to pass those savings along as a true benefit to the homeowners of Celebration. So that's what we're hoping to be able to do. I would love to be able to have a short meeting if we could set that up, where we would be meeting with the CROA and talk a little bit more in detail about what we could potentially accomplish together and how we could move forward on that. So if we could get together and have that meeting, that would be fantastic.
Can you leave us one of your cards?
Absolutely, it'd be a pleasure.
Thank you.
And meanwhile, I'll be doing stuff on Facebook to get more potential customers for this project whenever we get it started.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for your time.
Gary Hudspeth.
Good evening, Gary Hudspeth, 1471 Resolute Street. I wanted to give you my results of the survey I took of homes in Spring Lake regarding the landscape contract with Yellowstone. I've taken 3 surveys now. I've walked around every single home and written down any that had a violation or a problem with their landscape, since it's all under contract. With my experience in community standards, I think I know what I'm looking for in terms of Celebration community standards, as well as the contract with the landscaper. The last survey I took when I walked around every single home was the 5th of April. I know that was a few weeks ago, but 43.7% of the homes had at least one landscape problem. The majority of those were split evenly between dead or missing plants and weeds greater than 5% of the area, which is specified in the contract. That survey, after 3 months of waiting for the new contractor to get well with Spring Lake, is only 2 percentage points less than the previous contractor of last July, which that survey was 45.6% of the homes had at least one landscape violation. So I'm looking for improvement, and once again, I'm looking for contract compliance. Follow the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else who would like to make an owner's comment? Okay. Susan, can you verify that the meeting's been properly noticed?
The meeting has been properly noticed.
And can you verify that we have a quorum?
You do just barely have a quorum, but you have one.
Thank you. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll now officially call this meeting to order, 6:09 p.m., April 25th, 2018. I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion.
Second. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Obviously, no opposed. Let me make a couple of announcements as we get started. First, you'll note that Kevin Kirby is not yet here. Kevin will be arriving. He's in Orlando, or actually en route back, we hope, from Orlando. He's in mediation, or attending mediation, with the Town Center Condo Association, the Town Center Foundation, and Lexan. So he will be here. Debbie is on travel. Debbie McDonald will be back, I believe, next week, but she's on 3 weeks of travel. Jack McLaughlin left early this morning, family emergency with his parents, and so we wish him well. And Steve Steve Waring, Executive Director, has a family emergency. So we will carry on the fort. Some general announcements. First, I want to welcome the new board. All 7 of us, 4 of us who are here tonight, and soon to be a 5th. We have 4 new board members, 3 of us returning. Debbie, Jack, and I are returning. And we have been busy since our organizational meeting on March 9th. Feels like about 3 months ago, but that's only like, what, 5 or 6 weeks. We have had, since that meeting, not including that meeting, 4 workshops and 1 drive around with the entire board. So we have been busy. Here are 8 main topics that we've spent substantive time on. We've talked about Island Village and Mattamy Homes, and a preview that will be a major part of our discussion at our next board workshop, May 7th, Monday, May 7th. Second, we've talked about the community center, the proposals about the community center, and a potential agreement with some funding from the county. All of this is in process. Third, we've talked about the civic corridor, and this board has already determined to move forward with the restrooms and concession stand facility. We haven't voted on that, but we're moving ahead so we can get some bids. We've talked extensively about standards of conduct. The board of directors historically signed standards of conduct. This board, as with all the decisions so far and all of our discussions, is we don't take things as they have been. We look at everything with a fresh set of eyes. We have looked extensively at the budget, and all of us will get a brief overview tonight. We've looked at July 4th activities. We've looked at the newspaper and contents and some potential new directions, and then we've looked at had detailed meetings also as a subgroup on the website. So some revamping of that and some decisions forthcoming. So this board has been busy. There's been some subgroup meetings in addition to the full board workshops. We made a decision at our last board workshop that all of our workshops will be streamed live, not just taped, but live. On that note, the streaming tonight does not work. This is taped, Something happened with the device. It's the second time it's happened. It's a 3-hour reboot. We decided not to delay the meeting until 9 o'clock to go live. I hope you concur. But something happened, and we are taping, and this will be posted. This board has decided to stream the workshops also. We have set some goals. We will be looking at those tonight and deciding to adopt or not. We have already started with the April newspaper, the Celebration News, a column from your board. And this is a board of volunteers. So I just want to thank the new board for what we have embarked upon and for a good year ahead. Now, moving back to the agenda, approval of minutes. I would suggest, unless there's an objection, that we have a consent agenda. We have approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of this board as it was constituted in February, so other members. We have an organizational meeting. We have minutes of that. Our strategic planning meeting, a workshop on March 22nd, and a workshop on March 28th. One other set of minutes is not yet finalized. Can we adopt those together, or do we need to separate those out?
I move to adopt the minutes on a consent agenda.
I second that.
Second?
Favor.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So those are approved. We're now moving to committee reports. The first committee report is with the Architectural Review Committee.
Good evening. Michael Valiquette, Chairman of the ARC Committee. For the record, first of all, I'd like to welcome the new members as well, and thank you for coming to our meeting the other night, last Monday, and with a couple of your members as well, which is good to see. As I've said before, I plan on trying to attend all your meetings as a liaison, and whenever there's something that directly relates to ARC, I would appreciate someone from this committee coming to our meetings to explain what, why, and who or where is going on, so we understand fully and not have to rely just going back and forth through staff. I also want to thank, we're volunteers as well, but I want to thank Jeffrey and Albert, who work directly with ARC to make our job so much easier. They're an asset to us as far as not only helping speed up our meetings, but to give us accurate professional comments on helping our decisions to be easier. And that's accomplished a number of things, one of which is primarily, I'm going to tell you how many applications we had in February and March. In February, we had 124 applications, and we're trying to work really hard to help the residents get done, permitted what they want to do. We had, of 124 applications in February, we had 119 were approved and only 5 were declined. And when we decline something, it's for a very good reason, which they're told. And in March, we had 159 applications, 152 were approved and only 7 denials. So that's a pretty good record, I think, to keep things moving and keep people happy. So in February, there were 36 roofing, 25 landscape, and 19 painting. And in March, there was 33 exterior painting and landscaping and 21 roofing. The rest is smaller stuff. So on tonight's agenda, you are going to be approving a 5th member. You know, we've been working with 4, which is not a good thing if you have differences of opinions. Most of the time it's unanimous votes, but it makes it a little easier for the chair to step in and be the 5th vote if there is 2 to 2. So looking forward to our new member, and then to fill that spot. Let's see, and any residents, we're always looking for new applications for people to sign up to volunteer for ARC. So any residents can always come to town hall, see staff, and put their name down. And because sometimes members can't make their full term and they have to step down for various reasons, which is why we've only had 4 for a while. So you never know, mid-term somebody could be appointed. So if there's no, and of course, as always, staff is there to assist applicants for filling out their forms and trying to speed them through the application process to get to us. So, yes.
Michael, I just want to say, as somebody who's not terribly familiar with the process and went, it was enlightening. I appreciate very much the work that you and the other members do, and support and staff I thought was really impressive.
Thank you.
What didn't impress me was the inability for people who were in attendance to really follow and understand what was going on. There was an awful lot of internal discussion, and I recognize it's between you as the committee and the homeowner, and Jeffrey was there. You know, I would really like to see us move forward and give you the tools that you need, like microphones, like a better AV system, like the ability to do some rendering. It seems like nobody there has seen HGTV yet. It would be nice if we would have those kinds of tools so that you could do your job. Am I correct in that assumption, or are you happy with what you've got?
Well, now, we always have intercommittee discussions at the front, but the applicants are always in front of us, and I try very hard to stop communications from the board or an applicant with someone in the room behind them. That's always a problem. The microphones would help. A gavel would help, because then I could hit people if they don't do what I said.
Somewhere in the budget, we got to have money for a gavel.
And but I understand what you're saying. It's, as a chairman, you know, it's always, you know, people tend to shout out to the back of the room or from the back of the room forward. I generally will always step in and say, please, you know, don't do that. But I understand what you're saying. But we always, if you notice, when I call for a vote at the end of the discussions, I always ask if there's any more discussion or any more questions prior to calling for that vote, and that's the time that if anybody doesn't fully understand, especially the applicant or anybody in the crowd, that's the time their opportunity to say, hold on, before you vote, I want to please explain this, and we're more than willing to do that. And 9 times out of 10, Jeffrey will be the one explaining that, because he's our advisor, and he gets rid of most of our confusion. So
I'd like to pick up on 2 points that Jackson made. Kevin was the third person from the board who was at the meeting since we were all in our new roles. And I, too, was very impressed with the thoroughness. I remember an ARC meeting a year or two ago. Continue to be impressed with the thoroughness that you do. But I would ask you to think and talk with the committee members, talk with the staff, talk with Jeffrey. What tools would be helpful? You don't need to answer that tonight. Right. But think as an ongoing basis, what helps you do your job better? What helps engage the residents more clearly, even those who are in the audience whose application is not being considered at that moment, so we can all learn collectively about why you're deciding what you're doing. And I think Jeffrey will have some ideas. Mm-hmm. There may be some software, some hardware. Let's talk. I mean, we would welcome, this board I think would welcome providing your committee and other committees and staff the tools they need to do their jobs.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
So please hear that.
But we should be clear, it's not so we have a better meeting, it really is so you can better serve the residents of the community. Because, you know, if a microphone helps one meeting a month, but this other thing helps 159 people get a better, quicker, smoother result, that's what we ought to focus on.
Well, that's right. That was my goal when I first got on the board, and then especially since I've become chairman, it was we are there to serve the residents and make it as simple as possible for them to do what they would like to do, and that's what we're trying to do, and I think we're doing that. So, not to surprise you, and I don't know if you're staying for the whole meeting, but when we deal with each of the committees, there's going to be a suggestion for each committee, and it's going to be worded differently, but there's going to be a specific suggestion for ARC, adding to the, if you will, the goals or objectives for what we have to vote on tonight. Mm-hmm. And it's going to say specifically, or the proposal is, identify ways to expedite review of the requests that are of a more routine nature. I know you're already doing that, but we wanted that more formalized in your goal statement, so continually looking for ways to expedite. Well, that's the smart webs that we do a lot, most of our voting on online is good, but it's only as good as how often the ARC member goes online and votes.
Right.
I'm trying to get each one of them to go online every single day. Now,
Okay.
I realize I'm retired, it's a little easier, but I wasn't retired when I ran the Sandoval Island Planning Commission for 12 years. When you volunteer for something, it's a commitment, and you have to honor that commitment. You owe it to the residents, and if you can't, you need to step down. So hopefully we can figure out a way at the staff level, working with the staff as well, to get the ARC members to, it doesn't take long if you stay with it every day. If you don't go online but once a week, you're going to have 100+ applications to look at. And if you didn't get home from work until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, you're not going to do that. You want to be with your family. And that's one of the problems that I see as chair.
So any other comments or questions from the board? Please.
The one other thing that I think may be on the agenda tonight is that we may not, in fact, approve all of the committee members. We still have some questions here that are more general about the committee structure and the process and the applications. And we're excited about the fact that there's actual interest in being on these committees. God knows why, in your case. I don't get it, but I'm very grateful. And the fact that there are people that want to serve on that committee, I don't think we're going to be ready to make that decision.
And Jackson's comment is not about your committee, it's about the committees.
Yes, right.
Please.
In general.
In the 5.
Yeah.
So, anything else from you?
Well, in regards to why we do it, it's the same reason you do it. Gluttons for punishment, I think is what it's
Now he tells us.
Thank you, Michael.
Do you need me to stick around for your discussion about ARC?
I don't feel the need, and you're welcome to.
Just staff, let me know if they don't approve me.
You're locked in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your service. Covenants Committee.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Fromfelder. I am the chairman-elect, if you so choose, for the Covenants Committee. To give you a short update, in February and March, there were approximately 1,000 inspections and re-inspections were conducted on single-family and service area homes. 94 inspections were done on resale, and follow-up inspections were also conducted. 279 new and completed ARC projects were reviewed by our inspectors, and we had 106 emails that were sent for minor items, and which was then followed up with about 400 letters which were sent for major items, with one major item or multiple minor ones. At the February Covenants hearing, the Covenant reviewed 23 properties with 6 resulting in confirming the fines. In the March Covenants hearing, the committee reviewed 18 properties with 1 resulting in confirming the fines. Again, we are also a volunteer committee. Not sure how much interest we have in the community. Right now, there were only 4 remaining members that were on the committee. If we need more than that to maintain a quorum if one of us misses the meeting. The chosen topic from the staff and from the Covenants Committee for this month that will be in the newspaper is about the trash cans and the storage compliances of the trash cans. All of us, I'm sure, if we are walking or trying to drive down our alleyways, we seem to be seeing the errant trash can that doesn't get moved out of the way. So we'd like to have that pushed out as a public forum, as to try to have those pulled in with the recycle bins also. There's a great long line of what's written in the covenants. I'm not going to read it to you. We all know what they are going to say. The inspectors will continue to drive around the community conducting routine inspections every 6 weeks of all of the different village areas. They also carry with them reference materials in the NEVs to assist the homeowners. And the community standards team was ready to work with you and each member of the community. I have within East Village, I have my neighbors come up to me and ask me questions, and I know that our other members on the team do the same thing. They try to answer those questions. Other than that, if you have any other questions from the Covenants Standards Committee.
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yeah, I'm going to be that guy.
That's fine.
So you made a comment about the number of members and the quorum. I want to just confirm, and Susan, if you could help me with this. There are 4 currently appointed members to your committee, correct?
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
All right. So if 2 members show up for a meeting, you have a quorum.
No, because the issue with that is you have to have three.
Okay,
The chairman is not able to make a motion.
Okay.
We have to have one of the other two members. One has to make the motion, the other has to then
So
second.
if you have three people in attendance, you can have a quorum and continue a meeting, is that correct?
That is my understanding, though we would prefer to have four.
I understand that. The question I'm trying to get at is that I don't think, again, I'm not sure we're going to put anyone into the committee tonight. That may happen, may not. If it doesn't, with the 4 members that you've got, because they are the only 4 appointed members, the quorum is 3, not 4 out of 7. Susan, would that be your understanding?
The size of the committee in the charter says 3 to 7 members. So I think we've had 5 historically.
We've had 7.
We've had 7 at some time, so.
But it's the number that we have right now.
Absolutely, the number
Okay.
of people on the committee, so yes, absolutely.
So you could have a meeting.
When's the next meeting,
Yes,
Steve?
we're good.
When's,
The next,
when's the next meeting?
yes, I think.
We'll have a workshop before that. I'm
Yeah,
certain we can address all the committee appointments, for
Okay.
sure, if it doesn't happen.
May 7th workshop.
We can do it before your next meeting.
Yeah.
That's-
And I have one other question for you.
Okay.
Gary made some comments at the beginning as an owner of his own survey of Spring Lake. And I see that Gary is a member of the Covenants Committee.
Yes.
Do we have, is the survey, and Gary, maybe you want to come up to help address this, is Gary's survey something authorized by the Covenants Committee, and in any way does that impact, or would you have to recuse yourself from any covenant violation in Spring Lake, having done your survey?
Currently.
And again, I'm asking primarily because of
Yes.
the quota, quorum,
Yeah.
not the quota.
Currently, at this time, we're not doing inspections in Spring Lake.
We're not.
No. We will begin starting those next month, okay, as of next month, because it has been that they have been within the grace period, and there has been no official inspections that have gone through there. Now, Gary has done that as a homeowner and has not, now it has been non-meeting discussions of the Spring Lake area.
Those aren't reflective. It's wonderful what Gary did was, it wasn't reflective of all the covenants for celebration. He's just talking about specifically landscape.
He's talking about the landscaping. It's
And,
under contract.
and landscaping in Spring Lake is unique because the single-family homes as well as the townhomes, all of the landscaping is included in their monthly service area assessment.
I'm thrilled that you're doing it. Don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that we're not walking ourselves into a corner here, that we're going to have a problem later with a covenants problem, and someone comes back to us and says, wait a minute, one of your members went out and did his own survey, and you're telling me that's not a problem.
At this time, no, because the Covenants Committee representing, working for you, we have not, there has not been an official inspection of Spring Lake done by our inspectors.
And I think Gary's going to clarify that his inspection was a personal inspection, not a survey, was his visual survey of the community as opposed to the people that live in the community, although they may have been surveyed as well.
Yes, that's what you said. But what I'm looking at is the contractual landscape issues, and I'm only looking at those. I do not look at any other community standards issues in Spring Lakes because that's why we have inspectors from Town Hall. All of my issues are about landscaping, which is a contractual issue.
Okay, great. I really appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
And I'm doing it as a homeowner, which is why I speak at the before the board
Yeah,
meeting.
I got that part. I totally get it, and I really appreciate it. I just, it's the law professor in me. It just, I want to make sure. Sorry.
Okay. As an additional item, as what we discussed immediately after the storm back in September, there was considerable amount of damages that were to service areas, and then also the homeowners' properties. There was a 6-month grace period that was agreed upon by the committee, and then that was passed on to the board, I believe, as a discussion point. We have now gone beyond that point, and so the inspectors are now going to go out. There were some notices that were made, and now we're going to be asking staff that they go out and start pressing a little bit more on our homeowners, because there are some areas, and it's not the blue tarps that I'm talking about. We have some things that some people have just not addressed, be it shutters that are missing or other items which are, you know, depreciating the appearance and value of our homeowners. And so that's going to become one of our focal items in the next coming meetings as to we'll be following that.
So two last things, Stephen,
Yes.
and this will repeat what we said for ARC. If there's tools that you think would be helpful
Yes, sir.
to make the Covenants Committee process go better, please be vocal on that. And then you'll see a couple of items added to language. This is, I think, consistent with what you're already doing. Review the timeliness of processing covenant situations. So, and then explore ways of communicating community standards and their intent in proactive ways. And we've already heard that that's the monthly presence in the Celebration News that you cited.
Yeah.
So,
One of the biggest things that I personally have been trying to do since I've been on the committee is that we've been trying to work more in a, let's say, more positive dialogue. Gary's looking at me. And as to where, as long as we have a dialogue with the homeowners
right.
and town hall and there's communications, that means that we're moving forward.
Right.
What we have had in some situations is there has been zero communications by either email, telephone calls, or by letter, and then that's where we get into a period of where
Right.
the decisions are pretty well made for us as to where we have to go through the finding process.
anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, Kevin.
Well, apologies. Thank you. I don't know if you guys made the announcement. I've been
I did.
in
No, he did.
mediation all day, so thank you. Apologize for being late.
Glad you're here safely.
Good stuff.
Just a question, the fact that we are not streaming,
Yeah.
is there a way, when something like that happens, is it possible to post that out on like cell service or some way to avoid all the nasty grams that come in? When we said that we were going to stream everything, can we do anything like that, just so people know what's going on?
It's on our website.
It was posted.
Is it posted on the bottom right there somehow, that we're not streaming?
Top right, top right, in the notices.
Oh, so they'd have to hit the notices and drop down to find it?
No, they would see it. As soon as they get to the page, they would see it. It's the first
Super.
notice.
Okay, so when they actually go on to look at the streaming, they'll see maybe that.
You'll see a notice.
Okay. All right.
Special events.
Eileen Barr, I'm a member of the committee. There is still time to sign up for our Mother's Son outing to Splitsville on May 19th. Those interested have until May 4th to register. Attendees will enjoy bowling, lunch, and transportation. Price is $30 per person. This was started last year as an answer to father-daughter, which has grown beyond father-daughter. It's basically, you know, adult and child. So this year we're having, again, mother-son, or variations. And speaking of registering, registration is now open for summer breakout. The camp will run for 9 weeks, June 4th through August 3rd, and will feature a different theme and field trip each week. In addition, new this year is our teen leadership camp, Accelerate. The camp, which is geared for ages 13 through 15, will also run the June 4th through August 3rd. The campus will focus on leadership skills, team building, and career goals. The counselors in training will also spend time at Breakout working with existing counselors to hone their skills. Our Kids Night Out will be May 4th at Lakeside with the theme of a mad science party. Attendees will partake in a variety of experiments and games. The May Food Truck Friday will be on the 11th and will be held at Lakeside Park from 5 to 9 p.m. And I'm going to ask JR, is it the idea that we will maybe be moving permanently to Lakeside, or is it just a one-time?
Right now, it's just a one-time.
Okay.
It was a response from when we had Founder's Day, even though it's residents only, they seem to like the fact that the food trucks are over there, so we're giving it another one as a full event.
We're giving it a try. Okay, and in addition, that evening, we will be featuring the music of Johnny Danger on the Great Lawn from 7 to 9 p.m. The Community Chorus Spring Concert will be May 12th at Community Presbyterian Church beginning at 7 p.m. As the last year was so successful, the residents are invited to come out to Lakeside on May 25th from 5 to 7 for our Aloha Fiesta to Summer Party. We will be serving ice cream and shave ice in addition to games and a DJ. Then, be sure to stick around because at 8:30 we will be showing Coco on the big screen on the Great Lawn. The following morning, residents are invited to join the Veterans Club and Town Hall for the Memorial Day flag ceremony at Founders Park. The ceremony begins at 10 a.m. Applications are available for the Independence Day Parade. The parade will step out at 9 a.m. on July 4th from Town Hall, following a route up Celebration Avenue to Market Street before ending at the entrance of Lakeside Park.
Thank you. Any comments?
I just have one. Maybe I missed it, but on the breakout, summer breakout.
Yep.
Did you address the new hours, the hours change on that? I know JR worked on it. He got some. I didn't know if she wanted to announce it on tape.
Well, it's still an 8:30 to 4:30.
But the pickup.
5:30 to pickup.
Yeah, it went from 5 o'clock to 5:30. So
can you say that so that it's heard?
Okay, so the new hours are?
Camp is 8:30 to 4:30, and the parents have till 5:30 to pick up.
So the hours are 8:30 to
4:30.
And the parents have till 5:30 to pick up their kids.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Johnny Danger.
It sounds like a great day.
Brian, anything? No. Okay. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you for all that you're doing. And then all that you're planning or haven't planned yet to do. Recreation Committee. Do we have no report on that? Steve often gives that, and so we will pass on that. How about financial report? That's Brian and Susan.
Yes, Brian's going to help me with this. I was going to talk about delinquencies first. We have 35 accounts that are in legal. That's something that we haven't been, Brian and I have worked together for the last month or so and had several meetings to kind of revamp it so that the information that you get is relevant information, just not the numbers portion. And one of the things that we thought when we talk about delinquencies is how many accounts are at legal. We have 4,321 units, and we have 35 accounts in legal right now. That's a pretty low delinquency rate in the grand scheme of things. Our accounts receivable for assessments, trash fees, and fines are $755,000, and we have $576,000 in allowance for bad debt, because anytime somebody's balance is over 90 days, we don't expect to collect it. In many instances we do, but that leaves us a net receivable of $179,577. There are other miscellaneous receivables for, minor items, but those are the main items. Brian has created a format, and you saw the beginning of it last month, and I'll pull it up here and turn it over to Brian.
Okay. The package this month is, well, first of all, my name is Brian Kinsel. I think a lot of you know me.
Microphone. Sorry, just so that it's heard.
Oh, you've got two microphones, so just grab one.
You can
there
walk.
You
okay.
go.
Thank you.
First off, I'm Brian Kinsel, new board member. It was not a great shock to me when I became the treasurer. I'd been a CFO for about 30 years, so it seemed a natural fit. We got a board package this month. It's 441 pages, and I've been coming to board meetings for a year or so after I retired, and I noticed the typical board package was 250 to 300. It felt heavy. I didn't read it. So one of the first things I wanted to do as treasurer was say, okay, let's get to a couple of pages where the treasurer can actually make a presentation at a meeting, and you in the audience or somebody watching this from home can see the big picture. Because, somebody says the financial's fine, shows you nothing, you leave here knowing nothing. So I'm going to take a little bit more time tonight to tell a story. We got 2 pages. Longer term, we're going to have 3. I'd love comments, whether you want to catch me orally, whether you want to send an email, but I'd like to make this actually meaningful. So what we've showed here is we've showed 15 and 16 audited. 17, I call it unaudited because it's still being finalized. We got budget, and try to hit some of the highlights. For example, we have total revenues in 15, 5,700,000, 6,000,000, 5,000,009. For 1 quarter, we got $1,500,000, so about $6 million for the year. So when you look at Celebration as a community, we have revenues of $6 million. There's a lot of money moving through the chain, and I don't think everybody truly appreciates that. If you look at expenditures, you know, it's running 4.1 to 4.2. We got $1,000,001 for 1 quarter this year, so about $4,000,004. So we're making money before transfers. And before transfers, I mean to reserve funds, and we'll talk more about reserve funds in a minute or two. But we got $1,600,000, $1,700,000, $1,600,000 of profit before reserves. And when you really think about reserves, if you thought about this as a company, you still got one company, but you got like the operating account, and then you got the reserve funds, which are used for things. So, you know, we got a good thing there. And then what we actually do in the operating accounts is show a transfer to reserves. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about reserves. But like last year, we transferred $2.7 million to reserves. So a little later, when we talk about athletic fields, when we talk about civic center and stuff like that, you know, one of the great questions is, well, how the heck are you going to pay for that? So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But when you look at cash, and this is just the operating cash, we got $1,700,000, for example, in March. We actually went on property equipment. At year end, we had $1,875,000. Now we've got $2.5 million. We purchased the golf properties for $600,000. And when the purchase was done, the cash was taken out of the reserve funds, and it was increased here. Do you have the bottom of this somewhere?
Yes.
So when you go to the bottom of this, and again, we don't have the headings, we haven't shrunk this, but you know, the reserves really are the amounts that are transferred from the operating funds. And in reserve cash, we have $4,955,000 at March 31st. And that number is going to matter when we go to the next pages. And when you look at the reserve fund and the operating account put together at March 31st, we have cash of $6,650,000 and equity of $8.5 million. So we've got, we're big, we've got a lot of assets, we got a lot of cash. You want to take me to the next page? Yes. Hopefully that'll fit on that page. So what I thought would be good to do here is we really have, and I call it restricted replacement reserves. We have pools, we have parks, and we have stuff like that. We have a reserve study done every 3 years. The last one was done in 2016. The next one's going to be in 2019. We all know you live in Florida. The sun beats the daylight side of things all summer long, and you've got to be replacing it. When you get in trouble is when you don't set aside money for those inevitable replacements that are going to happen. And so what we do here in the replacement fund is the monies we put in there, we're really saying they should be isolated, they should be held certain and steady, and that's for what's going to happen. And a replacement reserve could be the pool, you know, the heating thing goes, the roofs go, trees go, anything's got to be replaced. We got to do this. And then we have that, what I call is funds that may be commingled. We have something called capital improvement. And what would happen was when the master recreation plan was done in 14 and 15, the buyer of any new property in here actually pays one annual fee, which right now is $900. That goes into capital improvement. We also have something called contingency reserves, which is like if you have a hurricane and you need deductibles and stuff like that, so we have funds there. And surplus is really just extra cash that we have in reserves that we're not isolating somewhere. But when you look at year end, we had restricted cash of $970,000. We had this commingled stuff of $4.2 million for $5.2 million in total. Now, if you roll that forward to March, what we've done here is you can see $584,000 coming out for the golf course purchase. $25,000 went out as a deposit in December of last year, so that was already there. But you can see we've got net inflows here of about $277,000, which is slightly different than the number up above because we earn a little bit of interest in their bank accounts and stuff like that. But that grows. We take out the expenditures. So when I had on the previous page talked about the $4,955,000 of cash that we have in the reserve funds, that is the total of $1,005,000 here. and 3.9 million here to get the 4,955. The reason this matters is you can sit here and you can see, and up above I had showed you cash of about $1.6 million in the operating account. The rule of thumb on the operating account is you should have 3 months of cash on hand for emergencies. Well, 3 months of operating cash for us is about $1.1 million. So you can say there's an extra $400,000 or $500,000 up there, but some of our receipts and expenditures are also seasonal. So it's not a tremendous excess amount. What I then said was, okay, we got this line of inflows, and it's really inflows minus outflows because we're always fixing stuff and stuff like that. So if you took the first quarter times 3, you can get an extra $725,000 here. But then the athletic fields, right now, the estimate I have is $4.1 million. We approved $3.4 million, which the previous board did in February. As we've said here, we talk about the new building that would hold bathrooms, concession. As we talk about, as we do stuff there, we're finding out you have to have permits. We're doing wetlands here. We're doing this and that. Junk. So we have thrown in $450,000 for a building to finalize that stuff. Another $250,000 for permits, architects, all that other type of stuff. You add all that together, you can get $4.1 million to build the athletic fields. And I think, in all honesty, if I had to bet on the over/under, I'll bet that's on the under, and it could be more than that if I was going to bet on more likely. So you sit here and you say, okay, we got the $4,955,000. If we take the next 3 quarters looking like the first quarter plus 832, but you subtract the $4,000,001, at year end we'd have the restricted funds of $1,000,001, and you just can't touch those. Those we need for stuff that's going to happen. Well, then we'd be down to $575,000 of the other funds, of which if you said, all right, capital improvement had 118. Contingency at 308, I mean, you can argue how much we need, but we live in Florida, the hurricanes happen and stuff like that. Surplus at 147. So we get through this year, we do what we need to do, but we'll be what I would call in the lean and meat stage at the end of this year. So when you hear conversations about a community center and do we use county money and stuff like that, this is why it matters, because if there is no county money, realistically, at the end of this year, we're not building a community center. These are things we will grapple with as a board, but what I want to do in this and future meetings is update these 2 exhibits. I think the 3rd exhibit we do need is reserve funds, because we've also got reserve funds for Artisan,
service
for all
areas.
the different service centers and stuff like that, so you can look at the whole picture. But what I want to try to get is a couple, 3 pages where you, as an audience, can look at it and say, I got the big picture, and this is where we stand financially as an organization.
Right on. Thank you. Very good, Brian. Questions?
Maybe more of a comment. I love being able to see this. It makes a big difference. I think when the community hears us talking over the next couple of months about community center and about the athletic fields, I hope it gets framed in the context of this conversation and these numbers. The previous board made their decision, and we respect the rule of law and the decisions that they made. Whether it was a good decision, a timely decision, a well-thought-out decision is debatable. What it's done is to put us in a position as a new board where we felt that we had to do certain things to make this project work, like putting in a building and bathrooms. You can see there's a lot of old men here. Well, Kevin mostly.
Come on.
And so we are forced to be the guys at the end of the parade sweeping up after the parade to try and make this work. And I think that this is important for the community to see where these numbers really are. We're going to make these ball fields happen, and they're going to be ball fields that we can be proud of and we can say, hey, that was good. But it is going to limit our choices on other things, and that's a reality. And I hope we keep that in mind as we go forward.
I think in respect for the prior board, there was a master plan that was put together. I referenced it earlier, 2014-15. What the previous board did was in line with the master plan. What we're doing is in line with the master plan. The math has changed a lot since the original thing. This thing has gotten expensive for a lot of reasons, some of which are very valid. So I think really, we should do this, we will do this, but, you know, educating everybody about what it does to our financial situation and how it affects timing of future pieces of the puzzle is important.
Right. I agree with you. There is that facilities master plan, and you can find that on the website if you're interested in it. But one of our goals for 2018-19 is to revisit the facilities master plan, because just as our reserve studies need to be updated as we go along, the facilities master plan, the community as a whole may want different priorities at this point in time. Yeah. And Brian spending the time to come down and bring it down to the nuts and bolts so we truly know what we have to spend is going to be very valuable for the community and those that give us the input.
Exactly. Good. Anything else under financial report?
No, sir.
Point? Anything? Okay. Let's move on to management report. Susan speaking for Steve and Susan.
Yes, thank you. Steve usually comments on the civic corridor, the athletic fields. At this point in time, there's some, they're working with Reedy Creek about the mitigation of wetlands. And as it stands right now, the estimated time frame for completion of the permitting process is still a May or June time frame, which means and they're expecting a 6-month construction time frame. So by the end of the year, January, we'll have the athletic fields up and running, is the plan.
And as part of that, the concession stand restrooms. So that's
exactly. The board on their agenda tonight has given management directions to move forward with the concession stands, restrooms, and meeting space in a facility out there for the athletic fields, and they're going to vote on that tonight.
And for the obvious,
I don't think we're voting. We're voting on parts of that, but we're waiting for RFPs to responses to the RFPs to come in, and then once we see what the actual bid is, I know there's estimates out there.
Right.
But once we see the actual bids, we'll make that final determination.
Exactly. But Danny's going to. You're voting tonight to have Danny build that plan for us.
Build the plan so that
we're starting the process.
Yeah, starting the process.
Exactly.
Thank you.
The Celebration Events Task Force was created to address cleanliness, parking, traffic, and safety downtown and throughout Celebration. And they met in April. They've been meeting. They met in April. The final draft, they'll have a final draft at the May meeting, which is in early May. And then we expect to present that to the Board of Directors. Mm-hmm. So the task force has done an awesome job and gotten us the recommendation that they were tasked with doing.
And we'll see in May, or whenever we get that report, what those recommendations are, what the next steps are.
Yes. Did you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Other than that, we've got some big projects going on in the service areas. We're painting Blue Sage, Green Lawn is completed. We're working with Blue Sage. We're looking at roofing at Roosevelt Corner. That'll be in a future agenda. And I'm going to ask Todd to come up and talk about landscaping with Yellowstone. Our Yellowstone representatives, Rob and Doug, are here today. So come on up.
So while Todd is making his way...
Mike and Doug, yes.
While Todd's making his way to the podium, just the board knows this, just to make sure our residents know this, that Susan is commenting on the management report, which is written, it's on the PDF, it's publicly posted. So we all have reviewed that, most of us ahead of time, and then you were just doing some highlights. So
exactly.
Thank you for that.
Good evening. Well, I want to thank you all, first of all, for doing the bus ride around with us. That was a good opportunity for everyone to see what's out there and what needs improved and what's already been improved and the direction we're headed. So thank you for that. Landscaping-wise, you know, I meet with Yellowstone on a weekly basis and communicate daily with them on any issues or good things, bad things. We've been meeting with their FERT Chem guys, they call them, to get the turf perked up, greened up, weed-free. They've been dealing with some mole crickets, which can devastate Bermuda grass or any type of grass rather quickly. And that's a leftover from the prior landscape company. So they've been tasked with getting that improved. They've got it fairly under control. We still have some issues down in Artisan around the amphitheater with the Bermuda. Also with some irrigation. They're working through those things. Doug and I met today, this afternoon, and talked about some irrigation issues, and we look for some improvements there. Just minor, straightening of heads, making sure they're all rotating in the right direction. And my pet peeve is not having them spray out into the road and over the curb and over sidewalks, and have them work as they're designed to do. So, Mike, did you want to come up and talk?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Oh boy.
My first name's Robert too, so I can go by Rob.
Rob, okay. Well, we're going to call you whatever your real name is.
Go ahead and speak.
I guess no, we're thrilled to be here. I think we've made a lot of good improvements. Doug can speak a little bit more on what we're currently doing right now, but Pete and I did drive around and we noticed that the parks are looking really good, especially with the fresh mulch. Leaves look like they're under control, but there are some other areas where we need to concentrate on weeds. And but I think Doug has a plan for doing the weeds, right? You want to talk about the plan? I think we have. Well, you know better than I do. You hired somebody for the weeds, right?
Yes.
To get on top of it. Get up there and talk. You know more than I do about the operations.
You got it, man. Doug Gurley, account manager for Yellowstone here. Leaves have fallen. We spent February and March removing leaves everywhere. I've never had more conversations about oak leaves in my whole life than the last few months. Mulch is going down. We're behind what we had originally wanted to get done. They've had a lot of mechanical problems. We have a vendor that blows the mulch in. They've assured me by the end of next week we've got it done. And I communicate with them every day or two to see where they're at. So those big trucks, I guess they break down a lot. But in any case, moving forward, I think we'll try to get in there quicker and allow them a little more time than, they told me 11 days they could get it done, so we scheduled a couple weeks. They didn't make it. But in any case, we're almost done with that. Weeds, we're always going to have weeds. Put on a full-time employee. She started Monday to just spray weeds and concentrate on that, because I think that gets overlooked with your crews. They're busy mowing grass and stuff, and the weeds we'll do next week. Well, now we've got somebody just concentrating on that. So I look for the weeds to improve. Right now we're aerifying the Bermuda turf. We did amphitheater, we did North Village, we've done the dog park, and tomorrow I believe we're going to try to get East Lawn. We're going to get Aquila, and there's one more. Oh, the front of Spring Park. Punching holes 3 or 4 inches deep, pulls out the core. It makes it a little dirty, but it aerifies the soil, basically relieves compaction. It lets the water percolate. It lets the nutrition get in there and stuff, which I think we did have some issues with on the Bermuda. It started coloring up pretty good in January, February, and it kind of stopped. And we got a little cool. But if you notice in the last couple of weeks, the rain has started, and that is the best thing in the world for grass. So it's activated a lot of chemicals, a lot of our nutrition, and the grass is perking up nicely. I think the aerification that's in our contract anyway is only going to improve things there too. Anything else going on? Just weeds, mulch, and keeping the grass cut.
And Spring Lake will get mulch too.
Absolutely, by the end of next week.
I'll get on top of the weeds at Spring Lake as well, and we'll get a plan together for the plant replacements that I think Gary was talking about. So we'll get a plan of action together for all this stuff, and we'll have a resolution for you guys.
Okay, so as a new board member, let me just ask the innocent question. Gary does a survey. Do you do your own surveys? How do you respond to such things? I mean, is that a surprise, not a surprise? This has been discussed.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess you'd say informally surveying every day I'm out here. I do site audit reports. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's pictures with your phone. You can put little captions and stuff. I use that for a lot of, I call them walkthroughs for my guys. They'll, you hand them a report with 5 or 6 pages, pictures and locations. It kind of speaks for itself rather than say, go take care of the weeds in North Village. Here's the pictures of them. And we share that at times with Todd, with Susanna, to get everybody on the same page. I share them with our branch manager. I share them with Mike and Pete. So that's a good tool, and the pictures say everything. As far as action plans, Spring Lake, absolutely, we've got work to do in Spring Lake. There is a lot of missing plants. We have a proposal put together. It does take time walking every property, counting what we need. Whether that plan is going to make it the next time, or we're going to replace the same for same, or do we need to modify what we've got in there? We've got that together, and I mean, honestly, it takes 2 or 3 walk-arounds, and then a couple other things come in and stuff by the time you get everything all together. We just want to be thorough. Weeds, like I say, we spent a lot of time. I'm not going to mention oak leaves again, I promise, but we spent a lot of time prepping and getting ready for mulch, and the weeds, you turn around and there they are. And it's not complaining, that's our job, and it's job security, but we will be putting 100% more concentration on getting those weeds when they're that big rather than...
We thought we had an idea of how much leaves were going to fall here, and it kind of just blew our minds away on how much actually fell and how often it fell. So we got a little bit behind on leaf pickup. So next year what we're going to do is we're actually going to have some bigger machines, some vacuums, and just kind of approach it to a different operational level. So we're not behind coming in April and May with the weeds coming up. So we're going to try something a little bit different next year that'll hopefully work a little bit better. But yeah, Doug's out here every day walking through like every site basically. But we do encourage residents to put in, I guess, requests and stuff. So because we can't see everything every day, so we do encourage the residents to let us know where there's areas of concern that we'll take care of. So
let me recap with that. As you looked at the landscape overall as a whole, they are much better than the last contractor. The results are better. They still have some improvements to make. As far as reporting, like I said, we constantly meet. We just went over 490 pictures that I took of things that need to be improved on, and that was just from Monday. So my eyes are out there, and my crew, and we're always texting and emailing and trying to get to that, first-class appearance. We'll get there.
Todd, we're talking about scope of services. Are you satisfied with the scope of services that have been authorized for this work with Yellowstone?
I would hope so, because I wrote the scope of services.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so if you're satisfied with the scope of services, then the question is the vendor meeting the scope of services? And my reading of the report is, in all candor, you haven't up to this point, and there may be good reasons for that, but we're not reaching the scope of services. And I hear that you're going to make corrections and you're going to do some things. Like every consumer, I want it now and I want it, done right. How long is it going to take us to get to the scope of services being done properly?
Well, as I explained it last week, the week before, and this evening, we are over the learning curve.
Okay.
3 months is plenty to learn the property, and I missed this part because I didn't know where it was, things like that. And the scope is very clear. If you don't do it, we give you notice. You have a certain time frame to get it accomplished. We re-inspect. If it wasn't done, we hire it out to another contractor and get the work done, and Yellowstone pays for however much it cost us. So there are different levels to make sure it gets accomplished, and we're at that point, and they realize that, and I think we'll see a vast improvement.
And Rob and Doug, you believe you can meet the scope of services?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we can. Yeah. Yeah. Just like I said, we were a little bit behind on the leaves and the weeds, and I think that spurred a little bit of the complaints. But we hired somebody, so full time somebody's gonna take care of that. So I would say within the next month, everything should get sprayed with around non-selective herbicide.
2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So there you go. Business developer side. Yeah. But so 2 weeks. We'll do everything in 2 weeks, so it should be.
So what I think this board wants is, the bottom line is the quality services. Thank you for writing the scope as you did. Thank you, Gary, for bringing forward the issue of contract compliance, and I know you're monitoring that. What I hope that this board and our contractor and Todd do not get into is the type of interaction that was happening in this room a year ago and a year before that and a year before that.
Yeah.
It won't get to that point.
Yeah.
It can't be, because it kept getting delayed. We're not.
Catch it before it happens.
Catch it early on. And the other thing I would just like, two last things to dovetail, is residents, just like you're taking pictures along the way, residents, myself included, are taking pictures through Service and sending them forward when we see things that are not to our satisfaction. And then you, Todd, decide what's appropriate, what's the standard. And the other thing is, based on some of the reporting that you've done tonight, I think that would be helpful in some user-friendly way to communicate through the celebration news about here's what's happening, here's why you see plugs out, or whatever some of that technology is. And just, you know, when I saw that big mulch blow truck, it's like, oh, I hadn't seen a mulch blow truck before. But no, just that these are happening in our community. This is all to make our community look great. So just help us understand, help all of our residents, not just through watching the tape of this meeting.
But I would be interested in, and maybe, not at this meeting, Todd, but somehow we need a little bit better education, because you can define we want 100%, and everybody in this room knows 100% is impossible to achieve. So was your scope of services at 85 on a scale of 1 to 100? And when we look at different areas, do you say, I'm a visual guy, you know, so at the end of the day, if you got 10 areas and these 3, if my goal's at 85 and that meets the standard of contract, and these 6 are at a 90 and these 3 are at a 70, okay, then I kind of know here's the focus area, because I have a hard time listening sometimes to these conversations and figuring out, does one leaf mean we failed, or does it mean we've got a real weed problem, and the best intentioned person can walk around everybody's yard and find something, you know? So we can set totally unrealistic. So how do we as a board affect, because there's nothing here that says, okay, where are we really standing versus the standard and in pockets of territory? Because I think it'll help in this conversation for you not to constantly be getting slaughtered because, okay, 98% is perfect, but this 2% over here isn't.
Right. Well, that's easily done because I have a spreadsheet that has all the different line items, how it was priced out per village and fertilization, all the different caveats that make up the contract. So it's simple. It's got a red line if it wasn't accomplished for the month and green if it was. So. And we can work numbers.
If we can figure out some way to share that as part of the package, I think that would be great, especially if it's something you're already using.
Yeah, absolutely, let's share it.
Anything else on landscaping? Please.
Just not with Yellowstone, but I just wanted to, if you take a look, if the residents, if you ever get a chance, take a look, go down Celebration Avenue before you get to Artisan on the right, the Memorial Gardens there. Take a look at that place and see what the volunteers, especially from the Garden Club, have done down there. It really has come around since last year. They've been down there on their hands and knees digging through dirt, ripping out old junky plants and replacing them, and it's really starting to look very nice down there.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Anything for Todd? Anything else on, thank you, Yellowstone, thank you, Todd. Anything else, Susan, for management report?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move on to the action items. First action item, motion to approve Georgetown's request to extend the mediation timeline from the end of April 2018 to Memorial Day.
Hi, good evening. I'm Annika. I'm the manager down at Georgetown. I understand we have 4 new board members, so I thought I would come down, say hi to you all, introduce myself to the community. As I know you've done your drive-through, so you came through us, you've seen what we've done. Unfortunately, the reason for the extension request is because that wall that we put up, that was a case of 1 step forward, 6 back, and we just went round and rounds on that. Finally, we got that all taken care of. They're actually planting up yesterday and today. The seasonal flowers will be going in next week. They were due this week, however, with the colder weather that we've had, just delayed them coming on to where they are. But that whole section in front there, including Building 20, that's all going down, planting, sod, all the rest of it this week. We've already started pulling out around sort of the next sector. So they're into all of that on the demo, getting that ready, new drains, and then we'll start. Those buildings will go quickly. The last section is that last block that we have that follows Celebration Boulevard. We've held back to coming to that because obviously it's very visual where we are, so that we want to do the demo and have everything follow really quickly on one after the other so it doesn't sit there looking like a desert for too much longer. And then just those 2 buildings at the back behind where we did the wall. There we've got the big drainage project that's going on because we've had flooding issues for those garages, for those townhomes. The contractor there was supposed to break ground in the middle of March. He didn't, in fact, break ground until last Thursday. So, you know, we can only push, I can only push so much, but then you get to contractors and you're at their mercy, really, to have them push. So that's where we are, but, you know, we're very much sort of right now enthusiastic. I want it finished up as much as our residents and my board does. It seems a long time that we've been at this.
I will say it looks really nice. We went through the board drive around it. It looks great. One thing that I don't think you said it, but I'd like to make sure it's heard. There is an easement issue or a setback with that wall that was there. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that it's out there, and that's the reason that caused a partial delay.
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
area, right?
that's what it came down to. The original plan that we had when we did the original work through with Albert was that where the pillars are that hold up that porch, that's where the retaining wall would be, and that it would come straight down from there and then out. But unfortunately, as soon as we took that embankment away, we found a 4-inch main portable water line with the 240 electrical for the lights, the street lights, sitting snugly on top, one on top of the other, completely against code, shouldn't be there. And, you know, it was one of these, we could extend the wall, get all the depth right and have it right-ish, or go throw a whole lot of legal and stall. And frankly, to throw money at the legal really wasn't going to get anything, because when we spoke to Duke Energy, they went, you can do what you like, but we aren't changing it. So the board made the decision of just make it as good as we could and just keep going and save the money that way.
Is Memorial Day realistic?
Should be. I should be. If we don't hit any, we're not anticipating hitting any more issues in terms of like the wall or anything like that. The guys haven't come up to anything so far, so we should be good to keep moving through on that.
Thank you. We need an actual motion. Someone make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any further discussion?
Just one thing.
Please.
Do you have anything to do with the satellite dishes they put in there?
Yes, I did.
And what happened there?
We got that signed off from Mediation, but what we did is we work with Direct Plus. The association owns the actual dishes and the gizmo that sits in our closets that allows it to go around to all the different condos and pull the line through. Once we got that established, we then got DirecTV to accept us as a multi-dwelling property, and Direct Plus then took over. So now when they start broadcasting, and honestly, don't ask me too many technical questions because I don't know, but when they start going broadcasting at 4K and all that kind of higher end stuff, that they will come and change out the things that's required on the dishes to allow my residents to get that. And it's all, each resident contracts separately with Direct Plus for that.
I was just curious, because the dishes sit very low.
We tried to keep them as low as we can, you know, just so with the landscape. Obviously, we've got to watch with the landscape that we trim it, that it doesn't interfere with the direct line of sight to the satellite. That was my next question, because
what they had around there looked like if it doesn't stay down.
Some of it will come up, but we work closely with Direct Plus and they take, and he comes to talk to us and take, and you just trim it back a little bit and that. So we take care of it that way for them.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just I want to thank you for what you've done. I was really impressed going through there.
Thank you.
I'm really mystified by why there wasn't conduit in the easements and why those lines were sitting out there and why we didn't know that that was it.
Yeah.
It doesn't strike me as being equitable that you got stuck with that and that you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And my hope is going forward that we're going to be more proactive, that we're going to figure that stuff out. But
yeah.
I appreciate your being the adults in the room.
Thank you. It just flabbergasts me that there's these kind of construction issues that were there at that time, and we just, you know, all of us, you guys probably hit it as well, is that we just got to deal with the problem as we come to it, and as we find them, that there clearly was no oversight at the time. So.
Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Item 2 is just a very brief discussion. The board started a quarterly survey 1 year ago. We've had 4 of them so far. We report the results. This is an 8-page document that goes on the website, Celebration website, to join the other 3 prior survey results. And it's going to be in the Celebration News in print format for the May 1st edition. So just very briefly, we had 2 parts of this survey that went out in February. This is the first opportunity we've had to report this because we did not have a March board meeting. So very briefly, the responses similar to the past. 832 were completed on this, and if you just want to see how it compares to the other 3 surveys, it's pretty equivalent. Response rate of the emails opened is just like the last one from November, is down a little bit, and the lesson we've taken from that is ask fewer questions. And so what you'll see in the May survey that goes live in 2 weeks is we're going to have 1 major question, and it's on covenants. So that's the May survey. There'll be sub-questions within that, and then we'll have a global question about satisfaction and celebration. So this is the response patterns. The first question we asked, a little background narrative is here, and again, I'm not going to belabor this. The board has seen these results on this part already. We wanted some preliminary thinking from residents about the community center because there are discussions with the county. Brian's reminded me that the meeting with the county is May 14th.
I believe.
So we'll remind you of that again, that when we start to talk about an interlocal agreement and potential county funding, so that's part of that background. We don't know where that's going to go, and we're all hopeful, and using Jackson's words, we want to be as proactive as possible. So we said, how important are each of these from a scale of 0, not important at all, to 5? And again, you'll see more narrative in the written report. This is simply the graphics from that report. So it starts with exercise and multi-purpose rooms and informal gathering areas, and then tutoring, commuter workstations were of lesser importance. And then we had open-ended comments, as we always do. We coded them, and so there were some comments about facilities, some concerns, some about this building, managing our fees, people concerned about, are our fees going to go up, concerned about non-resident involvement. So all of these written comments are collated here. Then we had a next question on community activities and events, and that dovetails into the thing that Susan reported on. Thank you for your presence. Community activities and events, and they're sponsored by different people. Some are sponsored by CROA, some by Lexan, some are not sponsored, like Halloween or Jeter Bend. And so there's a couple of slides here. Here's the first set. These are in numerical order in terms of how they feel, in terms of what they like on a 5-point scale, the top being 4.3. People love Food Truck Fridays. And so this is that way, and then all the way down to the lowest priority by our residents is Halloween, 3.6 on a 5-point scale. And then if you want to look at the same data a different way, so this is actually taking the responses, and rather than a mean score, because a mean score varies a lot, but you'll see here on the far right, offer as is on that first one, Food Truck Fridays, just under 2/3 said offer as is. And then on the left side of any of these bars is don't offer. The bright blue is don't offer. And then on the lower set, again, offer as is for Halloween was 38%, and then don't offer it. Not that it's really in our, I don't think we can control the US calendar or the world calendar. Maybe. But anyway, so this is the data, and again, you'll be able to look at this. You can print this out online with the narrative as an 8-page report, or you can read it in the Celebration News. And again, comments on this. And then, these are actually, let me go back to the prior slide. These slides were just, this set of comments is overall comments, and then this set of slides is on the specific events. So it's these are comments about Halloween.
But if you look at that, you look at the comment on Halloween, it's really parking crowds and that type of stuff versus Halloween. It's really
It's not about
event control.
Halloween. It's what it brings to the community. Exactly. And then demographics were roughly the same as prior. So that's just a quick overview. This is not an action item, it's just a reporting for residents. Please.
I just have one comment about, in general, these surveys. We had 127 respondents on the first. We had 238 on the specific, right?
These are people who wrote a written comment of the 800 plus respondents.
Now, management put out some great figures. If you look at that management report, on 228 of this year, that board meeting, I don't know how many attended that boarding, it dealt primarily with the fields and that type of thing. That was the big
50,
75. Draw.
Yeah.
I mean, you had I'm talking about the YouTube video. When they stream this, not stream it, I'm sorry, when they record it and people click on it, if you look at those statistics, it's pretty telling, where on 228 at that board meeting, you had 192 people looked at that on YouTube, averaging 10 minutes. Now, how long was that board meeting? Probably 2-3 hours, more than likely. So you look at it for 10 minutes. On the 12th, Mattamy, where's Bennett?
Shorter here. He left.
Yeah, Mattamy, when they gave their presentation, you had 82 views. That was it, and averaging 13 minutes on that whole presentation. On 3/14, we had our strategic planning session. You had 86 views total for averaging 20 minutes. And then the workshop we did on 3/22, we had 32 views, only 18 minutes. So we're trying to get this information out, but I just don't see we're doing it with YouTube anyway.
Multiple vehicles.
And we and then the number of responses, I would like to have seen 1,000 people respond to this, or 2,000 people.
Right.
But I don't know if we're getting a representative sample.
That's hard to tell.
As far as the interest goes in each of those areas or not.
832 people did complete, but those who filled in the open-ended comments, was that too?
Right, the comments,
Yeah, okay.
I feel the comments, to me, the comments are the things that we can really draw on and get some opinion on it and see what their feelings really are, but because it's very easy to put a 2 or a 3, but what's it really mean?
Right.
Why did they put that 2 on there? Why did they put a 5? But we don't know.
Yeah. Yes, right.
I think to Vaughn's point, one of the concerns that I've got is that from a technology standpoint, we just aren't. We're not doing a very good job of getting the technology out there. I think this survey is really extraordinary. I think the work that you and Debbie have put in particular is really meaningful in getting the comments and getting that information. There's a gap between that work, traditional surveying, and what we're doing. I mean, tonight is a perfect example. It's nobody's fault that we're not streaming, but really, I mean, we're not streaming. We're using a website that is just horrible. I mean, and I know we're working on all those things, but I think that it's got to be a priority. I think there's a lot of people in the audience tonight. I mean, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate that there's interest in what we're doing. But we've got to continue to push out on the tech and make it accessible to people. And I think over time we're going to see that that's one of the ways.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure I agree with that. During campaign season, I talked to an awful lot of people. And most people told me the important thing is they love living here, don't break our town, we like what's happening. I think people, it's like what goes on in Washington, D.C. Most people don't pay close attention. What goes on in Tallahassee? No one pays attention. This is here. You've got a lot of people out here, and I recognize every single face. But I think a lot of people like the town. If we did something really, really stupid, they would care. But I think a lot of people trust the representative process, and I suspect that a lot of people talk to their friends, do emails and other things, and okay, I kind of get what's happening in the town.
It's a valid point. One thing, we met yesterday. Was it yesterday? God, it's been a
I don't
week.
remember. One of the last 2 days. Yeah. Yes.
We learned something about the email. Remind me. It was the email that the survey goes out for.
Yes.
How does it get delivered?
People have to sign up for the email. It's through the, is that the same, JR, as the Friday Flash email? So So it is not the email that one uses when they register and come and get their ID cards.
So
it may be the same email, but you have to separately register for the Friday Flash.
Okay, that's what we were talking about.
Is that a fair statement?
Continue encouraging signups for the access to getting communication out. So when somebody signs up and they're a new resident, they don't automatically get something like the Friday Flash, which we found surprising.
It's tied into some federal legislation about anti-spam.
But yes, reaching out.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. Reaching out to the community more is going to get us the information we need to make the decision.
And I think we need to look at that, and how can we better communicate and engage residents who want to be engaged.
Yeah, but if in the election, 1,000 people vote, you got 832 responses. Or 1,000 houses vote. And this is a House response. So to me, the same 1,000 people who vote for the CROA board basically responded here.
Right.
So I think you've got a pretty
We got
good
4,000 houses that want to get it up.
I'm not arguing. To be clear, I'm not saying that we should force feed people to do this. I just want to make it so that when someone is making a good faith effort to get us and find us, that they don't, that they're not frustrated and give up because, oh, I can't find it, it doesn't work, it's got the wrong date, it doesn't, it doesn't stream.
I fully support fixing the website better and stuff like that. I mean, I support
We will be
all that.
voting on that in May. Moving on to the next action item. Can I have a motion to approve the Board of Directors Standards of Conduct?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Vaughn? Any discussion? These are standard, these were standards. We went through, as I announced at the beginning in one of our workshops, we went through probably an hour of discussion about expansion in terms of transparency and openness and communication and inclusiveness, and ended up with a single statement that was updated. But we are operating with all that we've talked about, and we'll be reviewing all of that and about how it's working for us. Any further discussion? Please.
We tried really hard to change the tenor of the conversations to make sure that we were operating in the sunshine, that we are communicating to all board members, which is why these meetings are going long, which is why we're having so many of them. In the past, it would have been very easy to take all these items and just say, we approve them. And we would have approved them because behind the scenes, we were all emailing each other saying, I'm going to vote for this, I'm going to vote for this, I'm going to vote for this. We are not doing that. None of that is happening. And I hope that the community approves and agrees with that. It is a messy, sometimes ugly, sometimes annoying, definitely email inbox filling experience. But I do think it's the right thing, and I think it's what the community really wanted us to do.
Yeah.
So,
any further discussion on this? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Action item 4.
And may I just ask one thing?
Please.
Would everybody sign this before they leave today, since we're all here? Oh, there you go. Vaughn's got it. Pass it on.
Thank you. So
Sorry about that, David.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve, can someone make the motion to approve the 2018 strategic planning goal areas?
Make a motion to approve 2018 strategic planning goal areas.
Thank you.
Second.
Second from Brian. Any discussion? What we have is 6 goal areas. We actually went in our strategic planning process, went through generating our wish lists, our dreams, the practicalities, then we clustered them and created some language. What will get posted on the website is not what we're approving tonight. What will get posted is these 6 goal areas plus a paragraph of narrative about each one. What we're approving tonight is the specific wording, like review and update parks and facilities master plan. So that's one of our goal areas for the year, and Susan represented earlier. Engage in planned and futuristic growth of celebration, identify and implement a range of communication strategies to engage residents, build mutually beneficial partnerships with community and county groups, identify and promote services to maintain quality of life for residents, and review, update, and implement quality administrative services. That's what we're voting on. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Next item, motion to approve the estoppel fee resolution is prepared by Larson and Associates. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that estoppel fee resolution.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Second.
Thank you, Jackson. Any discussion?
Just to be clear, the reason that we're doing this, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, is there's a change in the law, and this is a requirement that we now conform to that.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Any further discussion on this? Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 6. The next 5 items, do you want to say something?
I do.
Please.
The next 5 items, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, we have actually 2 different things going on in each one. There's a motion, or could be a motion, to approve the resolution, which I'm hoping that we approve tonight for each of those tabs. However, there's also a part of each of those tabs to confirm members of the committee. And I'm going to ask the board tonight to table that part of each of the resolutions for a period of 1 month. And in our next board meeting, or perhaps even in the workshop, we might agenda this and come back to it. And I've got more to say about that, but that's my, so the motion I really like to make is that I would like to amend tabs 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 to approve the resolution, but to table the appointment of committee members.
So that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second this.
Thank you. Discussion.
I would just like to not put this off longer than we have to. If we can do this at the next workshop and get these committees staffed, and so they can get to work with their new people.
Okay.
I'd like to see that happen and not put this off.
What will we have to do to get that done?
I think all we have to do is to put it on our workshop. I would like to see, I've already asked Susan for a list of all of the existing committee members, the list of those people who've applied for each committee, and the applications and qualifications. It is not clear who's on the committee, who wanted to be on the committee, who applied and wasn't accepted onto the committee in some of these situations. So I think that there is no committee that I'm aware of that cannot function for the next 2 weeks. Every committee has enough people. Am I correct, Susan?
That's exactly right. I was going to say, we had an extensive discussion regarding, and typically you don't have enough people to serve. And now we have a great problem, which is too many people want to serve. And so it's the board's discretion as to who serves on those committees and what the charters are. So I concur, I think.
And as part of this, I'd like to open to a date certain that if there are people that have not yet applied to these committees, that they could do so.
Thank you. Thank you. So several things, just to clarify. We want to be clear with who's returning to the committee.
Yeah.
We want to see all applicants for each committee so that we can review. We want to make or extend or encourage further participation for anyone, and that could go in the Friday Flash. That could go in this Friday's Friday Flash. And if we were to address this in our May 7th workshop, we need applicants by the Friday before?
That'd be up to
May 4th?
Well,
That works.
Don't you have to then allow the committees to actually meet and review any new applicants or something like that? I mean, we're taking the recommendation from the committees.
Well, I'm not sure that we are, Brian. I mean, in some cases, I'm not sure we're really taking a recommendation from the committee. I think we had some management recommendations, we had some committee recommendations, and in some cases, we didn't have a recommendation at all.
Or maybe a committee chair endorsement or review?
Maybe I'm mistaken. Am I wrong about that?
It's the board's discretion. It's not the committee's discretion as to who is on there. I think as a courtesy, it's not a bad idea to have the committee chair certainly review the applications.
Steve,
I'd like to reckon. Go ahead.
While Gary is coming up, I think it's a disaster to sit here and tell somebody this person's going to be on your committee, and the committee had no input to it, and all of a sudden we got a committee with 5 people and 4 of them quit because they have a very legitimate reason why that person would never work. I mean,
I'm going to go to my reason for seconding this is I had a resident that reached out to me and they mentioned, hey, they submitted their application and they were told, sorry, it's all filled. And I said, I don't remember approving applications. I thought that had to go by the board.
Yeah.
I'd love to encourage additional people to put their applications in.
I'd like to recognize Gary.
In the time I stood up, now I have two things to ask, two questions. If you read the bylaws, Susan is right. It's the board's discretion on approving committee members. It doesn't say anything in there about the committee providing recommendations or the chairman.
Right.
That's not in practice, it's not a bad idea, particularly to ask the chairman, I think. But the bylaws doesn't say that.
Right.
The primary item I stood up for was, Jackson, your motion was to table all committee member approvals. That would mean no committee could meet between now and when you approve them. I think what you meant was to approve new committee members and to keep the existing committee members so we can continue to meet this month.
Is that?
I would amend the motion to
And
clarify.
that's how I heard it, but you're correct. It's how you said it.
Thank you.
We're in discussion right now?
Yes, we are.
I'd like to ask Steve, Steve, you have an opinion being on, the chair of covenants? I mean, the chair-elect, I mean, how do you?
I don't know, you have to approve it.
What's your feeling on recommending persons out of, say you had 5 applicants recommending 2 out of 5, do you as a chair want to be able to do that, and why?
I would like to give you either, be it my opinion or the board or the committee that is still enacted. We want anyone who has some interest in be it the covenants or be it ARC or any of the other committees, and now the new dog park, be it who wants to be interested in this. But we have to, I mean, yes, I think that we could provide you recommendations.
Is that what you'd want to do then? Or would you rather have the board decide?
I would prefer to give you a recommendation, and then you...
And I agree with that.
I'm not suggesting that we make the decision absent the recommendations. I'm saying that tonight is not the night to do that.
And I would like to ensure that all applications actually get to the committee. That's where I'm coming from. I want to make sure you get every application that's out there.
Right.
And I'll try to clarify a little, because what you said was interesting. I would like to know that I would like to see every committee at full capacity, just because I believe A, new blood is good, and B, people do move and stuff like that happen. We need enough people that we can have continuity. So if we've had people who wanted to apply who weren't considered, then unless we've got a committee over the max limit, then we got a problem, I think.
How do we handle the people who put down 3 check marks for 3 different committees, and if they don't get chosen on covenants for some reason, and the other 2, do they get sent to all 3 of those chairs at once, or how do they do that? What if?
I would say yes, because some of them, the committees may be full and may have people that are more qualified that are applying for that committee. We actually talked to one applicant who there is no space on the ARC or the Covenants Committee. There are an excess number of people who are interested in serving. Would they be interested in serving on the dog park or the special events or the recreation committee? All of those still lack some participation. There's enough people.
What if Steve, covenants and parks, both want one person? Do they talk? How does management let
Management
those 2?
usually brokers that. If covenants was full, then we would say, well, our covenants committee is full. We can certainly keep your application on file if a space becomes available. Would you be interested in serving on the Parks and Recreation Committee? And if they say yes, then that's where they go. But
why did you say the covenants was full when the max is 7 and we've only got 4? And they've
with
talked about
the applications, we're going to have a full committee.
That's
that
where
right,
my comment is
Covenant?
coming in.
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
that serious kind of make more sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I second the motion.
Yes. I already did.
Oh, thank God.
So,
I thought Kevin did second.
So to clarify, we're going to vote on all 5 at once. We're going to vote on the narrative, the goals and objectives and the charge. We are deferring discussion for our May 7th workshop. about membership.
About new members.
New members. We are affirming tonight as part of the motion the current membership. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The current member, the returning members for each of the committees. Dog Park has no returning members because it's a brand-new committee. Do we want to handle that separately or defer that personnel decision?
Susan, can the Dog Park Committee wait a week before it meets?
Yes. We just had Yappy Hour.
So we can be consistent on all 5?
Yeah.
Is the motion clear, Rachel? Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Everyone ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are on item number 11. If I'm correct. Motion to approve the renewal of Acela, which is the contractor or the service for the Acela service. It's an annual contract in the amount of $6,678.58 from the CROA operating expenditure. Do we have a motion?
So made.
So moved. Thank you.
Second.
Second. Brian is the motion and Vaughn is second. Discussion.
Susan, you told us that this is for the Acela service software, and the fee has gone up each year now by 7%.
Yes, sir.
And Patrick, you've tried to renegotiate this down, is that correct?
Yes, he has. Patrick's coming up to the microphone, so those of you at home can hear him.
Yes. So you've tried to renegotiate this. What's the reason the vendor's giving for the increases? This is a software service, right? A cloud service that they provide us that then runs our app?
Correct. And that's the agreement that was signed. So it's a year to year, and as long as we're in that year to year, that's just that agreement.
Well,
so it will be.
Our original agreement was with a separate company that was purchased now by Acela, which is the one that's increasing, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And if we, at some point, were to take IT in-house, is it possible to create a piece of software or to use readily available software to create something that was comparable that didn't have an ongoing cost like this?
I would have to look into that. I wouldn't see why we couldn't.
Okay. It's a good thing to look at for the future.
Right. Okay. And there are other, as we look to grow and use newer technology, some of the functions that Acela public stuff, Acela service provides us, we can find similar cause with a different company, with a different software. It's just having to go over and start with the new program, learn the new learning curve, get past that, and then move forward.
And on that line, might this capability that we're talking about with Acela service dovetail with software that Todd, I'm looking through the microphone, that Todd is looking at for maintenance processing?
Right.
Yeah.
Todd and I are working together with that.
So there may be some transition.
Right, definitely.
Okay.
There is the opportunity to move forward with what Todd needs and put in transition from Acela service into the new program.
Well, then, this is a one-year contract starting in April of 2018.
Correct.
Is there a month-to-month payment option, and if so, what would that be?
No, it's an annual contract. So we will have this through March of next year.
And this might dovetail with a new website and what capabilities?
All the technology items.
And just to fast forward on the website, should we approve that and move forward, that may not go live until November, December, January. So timing.
We'll get most of our year at least.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's
exactly.
That's the point I would go
and
at.
so this is that opportune moment to kind of look at new technology.
Great.
That's from Kevin's and my discussion either yesterday or the day before.
One of those days.
And for $6,700, we can't replicate it. I mean, if we can wrap it into another technology, but we can't build it ourselves for that kind of money. I mean, that's
right. Okay. Any further discussion? Call a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
One question I do have, not pertaining to that, but now that Patrick's up, I don't, maybe I missed my opportunity here to bring this up, but I was going to ask, I asked Patrick if we could get an update on the the Wi-Fi at the various areas within town, that is in progress, work in progress?
It is work in progress. Jennifer Ketchum is our Comcast representative, the one that usually comes in-house, answers questions for the residents. What is that, once a month?
Yes.
Yeah, once a month. And the last time I spoke with her was on the last week, the 18th, and she informed me of our new technical representative for Comcast. Her and that gentleman will be sitting down together and actually providing me with a timeline sometime shortly with which village they're going to start with first. So we have an agreement with which parks and which fields will have free Comcast Wi-Fi.
Will there be a login, a resident login, or is it just going to be
I
open
don't
to
know the
public?
details on that. I don't see why it shouldn't be just free public access to anyone that's visiting that area.
So as that conversation is happening, and we build a building down by the athletic fields, might that be another location?
You're talking about the concession stand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Might that be another location? Put on your radar screen?
I can definitely bring that up.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Item 12, motion to approve 48-month lease for a color copier with Seminole Office Solutions in the amount of $811 a month from CJC operating expenditure.
So moved.
Second, so moved. Here.
Second.
Second from Jackson. Discussion. Any discussion?
Don't feel like discussing copiers.
Don't feel like discussing copiers?
Got a lot to go through.
I had just asked management, and corresponding with the board and management, to look into various options, whether it's multiple smaller copiers, whether it's purchase, and I don't know that we need an answer tonight unless a 48-month lease means it's non-cancelable. Is this a cancelable lease, or is it a?
It is not. It is a 48-month lease, so if at year 3 we decide we're packing up or just closing shop, for example, you'd still be on the hook for the remaining 12.
We're on the hook for 48 months.
Does that include maintenance?
It includes everything but paper.
So toner?
Toner, maintenance, so if it breaks down every month, it was probably a bad purchase anyway, but they would come out and repair it.
If it breaks down, do we have redundancy? Do we have other equipment on site?
Yes.
Is this more than one copier?
We have, this is one copy.
This is just one copier. This is our main color copier.
Okay. Do we have another, if that were to break down, do we have a second that we could use if needed?
We do have a high capacity black and white copier, and we do have smaller color copiers within the office.
So we could make color copies if we needed to?
Yeah, we could make do until it's repaired.
But within that lease, how long do they take to go ahead and repair that or replace it?
Sometimes same day, if it happens early enough, or the very next day.
Yeah, so we should be good.
Okay.
And there's always, David had also mentioned that, what if the technology becomes obsolete with the copier? But they'll always upgrade your copier before that 48-month lease is up. I mean, I don't know a copier company that wouldn't do that.
I was going to say, at Zurich, we spent a lot of time looking at stuff like this. We bought our own. It was an expensive debacle. They will always sell you a new thing, give you total credit, move up. You get real credit. The technology changes. You get the new equipment. You get the technology change. You don't end up with obsolete. This is a hard place to save money.
So do they, I see there's a particular model. If some new technology comes out in 18 months, they would replace it as part of this? Or this machine would last for 4 years?
Yeah, this will be our machine for the 4 years. And as you know, technology with those high capacity printers, they're typically about 3 to 5 years of a lifespan. So by the time 48 months comes around, we'll get rid of that.
Any discussion, any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes. Thank you. I would suggest that the next 3 items, if we can move them together, because they're of the same flavor. One is to approve a change order for the Civic Quarter Athletic Complex by Hanson, Walter and Associates for the amount of $8,900, CROA Capital Improvement Reserve.
Actually, it looks like it's duplicated.
Yeah, there's three items, there's two tabs,
You're right.
13A, and then 13B is motion to approve change order for the Civic Quarter Athletic Complex by Hanson, Walter and Associates for environmental subconsultant wetland permitting service for the amount of $10,000, CROA Capital Improvement Reserve expenditure. And then tab 14 is motion to approve change order for the Civic Quarter concession and restroom building design by Bumpus and Associates in the amount of $7,000, CROA Capital Improvement Reserve expenditure. So they're all tied into the same area, two of which are from Hanson, Walter and Associates, and one from Bumpus and Associates. We can keep them together, or we can keep them.
I'm fine with putting them together.
Fine with combining?
I'd make a motion on approving tab 13A, 13B, and 14.
Okay, and I've read the motion, so.
I'll second those.
Second, okay, thank you, Kevin. Vaughn, any discussion?
When I did the financial presentation, I talked about the 3.4 million, the 450,000, and 250,000 of what I said was stuff. This goes in the stuff category. When you start having all these drawings and you start having wetlands and this and that, you have to change things, you have to pay people. So this is a normal expense that's going to happen.
And part of that tab about, from Bumpus and Associates about the concession stand and restroom, after we had your presentation, then we got into a discussion in one of our workshops that says, let's move forward. This is part of moving forward. A step after this would be writing up specs, RFP, get bids in, and then have a review of those and see what the price tag actually is. And so that might be, I don't think that'll be in the May meeting, maybe June.
But by the June meeting.
By the June meeting, we should be able to make a decision, and then if we approve it, move forward. Any further discussion on that? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item, motion to approve the application for business use in the Home Business District for 500 Celebration Avenue, Talent Realty Solutions. This is approving the business, not the signage. So this is, and their application shows the item from the covenants.
I see the owner.
Charter. So the,
Here
do we, does some, before I have a discussion, have a motion so we can move to discussion. A motion to approve?
I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Okay, recuse, okay. We have a motion to move this for, at least for discussion.
A motion to move it forward.
Okay, motion from
Brian.
And was there a second or no?
I'll second.
Okay, for discussion, this is for discussion purposes. Second from Jackson. So we have a presence here?
Yes.
Person to talk about this.
Oh, we're actually moving into the old Calder Wealth building. And we're a local realty company. We've been in business for just 5-6 years.
Excuse me, what's your name?
Gil Mello. And we're very excited moving into town.
Questions? Discussion?
We don't have the authority here today to talk about your signage or some of the other things. I would just point out that your application has misspellings all over it. Your signage looks different. It's square rather than circle. There are a number, this is, I'm going to use the word, it's an iconic building. For those of us that were here at the beginning, you're moving into one of the dream homes. And it means a lot to those of us who were here. I'm just asking that you not, that's the right word.
Say it nicely.
Don't trash it, please. I mean, keep it, you know, this is an important building, and I'm a little nervous when I see that you don't spell your own name right on your application to us. And it says things like, this sign is going to say main sign Talent Realty. This doesn't give me a great deal of confidence.
Well, I think for the sake of the application, we want to make sure the application says exactly what it's going to say, just to cover you and cover us and cover everybody. There's no question of what words, what letter order, any of that is going to be.
Of course, no, yeah.
for that purpose.
And that'll go to covenants, I guess, right? To
Yeah.
ARC.
ARC.
Okay. So I'm sure you'll comply. I was at ARC when they were talking to you about the construction. I would second what Jeffrey said to you that night, which is that when you block off the back, I just want you to recognize that you're dealing with something of a landmark in this community. You've been here in business for 5 years. You talk about wanting to buy investment property and to bring investors in. This is a sensitive item, and the way that you create this building and what you do with it is going to say a lot to many of us about what you think about our community.
Oh, I understand. I do apologize for the typos. Obviously, that wasn't intentionally. I do take it very seriously. It's been a process to get into that building. I've been a local resident for a long time, and I understand that we don't take this lightly either. If we could go back to the sign, though, did you not like the way it was square? Did you not like the picture we put up?
Yeah. It's not our call.
That's going to be ARC, and I'll be glad to talk to you offline, or Tony will gladly talk to you offline. And if you need help with getting your application grammatically, we can help you with that as well.
But there's no doubt that you're entitled to have a real estate business here, so I think the motion's actually pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? Questions? Anyone? So we have 4 of us voting. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So again, the record should show that Vaughn recused himself on that. Thank you very much. Next item, tabs 16 and 17, I would propose that we look at them together.
I would make a motion to put them together, but also to table both of them, okay, if I might explain why.
Sure, please.
In both of the agreements, which are form contracts dated 1991, before LegalZoom, we have in Exhibit A 2 different terms. One term says the consultant and the other says the service provider. The agreements themselves only define the service provider, not the consultant. So there is a possibility for confusion around that piece alone, but there's also some language in the agreements themselves. And again, I've got to make the disclaimer statement that I only play a lawyer on TV or the internet, and I'm not offering legal advice to this board. But the agreements, I think, we'd be well served by having general counsel look at those agreements, revise them, and give us clean agreements that are, I think, better written, more appropriate, and clearer about what they're doing.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Tabling this affect the organizations at all and their ability to provide service to the community?
They'll continue month to month is how I would
so
understand
there's no impact, it's just fix the contract and proceed.
Right.
So we can have counsel look at it, and also with Steve's expertise in recreation, looking at state-of-the-art best practices in terms of contracts for recreation services?
Certainly, certainly.
And I think we want to ask ourselves why we're using a form contract from 1991.
Well, actually, about 3 weeks ago, I had all the department heads give me all the contracts that we have, and we're going to start updating them, because truly, if we have a service contract with a landscaper and then we get a service contractor with a tree person, to have an attorney draft us a new contract. So they have been utilized over the years, and I think it's high time to get them updated, and so that's actually on our list of things to do, and we're going to start with the recreation contracts and feed them not all at once, but as we go.
So hopefully this can be ready for our May board meeting.
It will be ready for your May board meeting.
And I know that, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Are we okay? Do we need a motion to, I guess we need a motion to.
I move to table.
Items 16 and 17?
Items 16 and 17.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, that's from, Kevin was first, sorry.
First, fine.
You can be first on the next one. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. An aye also for myself. Item 18, motion to approve entertainment for Founder's Day in the amount of $12,500, CROA operating expenditure. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Jackson.
I'll second.
Brian, do you want it?
I'll second.
I was holding back for you.
Vaughn did it.
Vaughn did it, okay, it's Vaughn's. All right, discussion. This is the amount that was budgeted. So this is for Founder's Day. Is there anything, Susan or JR, that you want to say? Or are we okay?
Well,
Go ahead.
what should be said is it's a secret, so.
Well, it's a secret because we have to give them an offer, and they have to accept that offer before we even have any kind of contract. And we can't do that until you've authorized the expenses, because the repercussion is it could cost us 50% of that.
Catch 23.
Yes, exactly.
For the sake of sharing with the residents, when do we feel we might be able to share that?
It would probably be around July 1st.
Okay.
July 1st?
Yeah. So that way everyone knows when
Okay.
to expect.
And this is for Founder's Day. I mean, Founder's Day is
Exactly.
a big celebration for us, in celebration. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion to approve Savannah Square. This is tab 19. Motion to approve Savannah Square curb modification and plant replacement for emergency vehicle access by New Leaf in the amount of $22,198. CROA replacement reserve expenditure of $12,694 and CROA operating expenditure of $9,504. Have a motion?
So
I'd
moved.
like to discuss this one.
Motion first?
I'll second.
That was a Vaughn motion?
Yes.
Okay, and then Jackson. Discussion. You want to discuss?
So, and I don't know if Todd, maybe you want to start with the background of the entire process from beginning until now, and I will jump in with a comment afterwards.
Well, we were contacted by Floyd McCollum from the CDD. He approached Steve and I about an issue with parking around Savannah Square that was brought to the CDD's attention by Osceola County Emergency Management. The issue was emergency vehicles cannot maneuver around the parked cars without going across all the shrubs within Savannah Square on the corners. So the county wanted to remove all on-street parking in that area. So the CDD came to us and asked for a compromise if we were willing to do a curb radius, kind of like a rumble strip that you'd see up in off of Celebration Place, headed into the shops there. It'll still be aesthetically pleasing. So we looked at that and come up with these proposals. We took it through the process with the CDD because it's within their easement. They approved it, the county approved the plan, and now we've brought it to you for approval. Also went through ARC and got their approval and recommendations. So the alternative is the parking would be eliminated if we don't do this.
So my comments, and I don't know, the board could probably guess where I'm going with this. I'm all about keeping the on-street parking. We're here for the residents. I agree 100%. The county came to the CDD, who came to us to go ahead and widen the streets. What are they chipping in?
The CDD or the county?
Either.
Either. The county's not chipping in anything because it's not their area or they're not their parcel. And it's not their problem, really. They can get rid of the parking. So it becomes the residents' problem. The CDD, we had that discussion with one of the supervisors, and they felt it was our responsibility because it's our park. So and I'm not a resident here, I'll make that disclaimer, but the way I'm looking at it, it's the residents' money at the CDD and it's the residents' money at the HOA. So
I agree.
It's going to be spent one way.
The resident is spending it one way or the other.
Yes.
At that point, maybe we can go back with the CDD and negotiate, maybe split it half and half, because we do have a lot of money, Brian, you can help me out, that we're going to be spending this year. And for those funds, it's a matter of, yes, it's going to change the appearance, so on and so forth. How does the ongoing maintenance go? Who maintains the curb? We pay for it now, we put it in. Who's maintaining it? Who's cleaning it? Who's paying for the road? What's the materials? That's, you know, there's a lot going on. That's one. My second is that road in that area is very cracked up. And it's coming time that I would guess it's ready for repaving or something is going to go on there. Can we find out when that might happen before we make this adjustment? Because I don't want a year from now for us to do all this work and they rip up the road.
Right. Well, I'll certainly find out. I don't know that it's anytime soon because you saw how long it took to get the main roads done. But either way, if they did it tomorrow or 10 years from now, it should not affect what the plan we have in place, because it would not, impact the new improvements.
I have a question on the pictures that we saw on we did the drive around, ride along. We went around there and looked at that and got out and walked around. Those curbs are destroyed up there. The cars are driven over them. They're broken up. Those are coming out. Am I right? Those aren't getting replaced, so the curbs are gone.
The curbs are gone.
And from that, so how much of the county's road are we going to be? I know the bushes are getting moved back 3 feet, and then they're going to have the pavers in front of those.
Right. Well,
is that going to be on our land, on CROA land, the pavers?
It's going to be under our responsibility because the documents, the way that it reads, unless the CDD accepts the responsibility, it would be the property owner or adjacent parcel owner, which is us. So it'd be our responsibility at that point. But
are we repairing any county road area?
No.
Okay, so it's strictly either going to be CCDD or us.
Correct.
Our property. Okay.
It is.
So systemically, one of the things that's happening is that CDD and CROA are having to learn how to work together. And one of the connecting points, in my view, is that we have this extraordinary resource in Jeffrey. As the town architect, as somebody who's been here, almost from hour one, I'd like to ask whether or not, you work for CROA, right? Is it possible for us to ask Jeffrey, as part of his CROA responsibilities, to liaison with CDD? Because I get the feeling that they are utterly lost when it comes to some of these architectural questions and problems. We were at the meeting at which they couldn't figure out who owned the streets around Market Street. I think you know the answer to that. I think there would have been a fair amount of discussion that would have been better, and I think that this, this particular situation with Savannah Square might be might have been better managed if we had Jeffrey involved. Do you want to come up and by the way, this is no disrespect to you, Todd, or to Steve. I just think that we're really talking about a different level of expertise here.
Yeah, no, let me give you a little background too. I've been involved in this Savannah Square modification since the beginning with the county. The county really did come to this committee, which is basically Floyd and me, working with the county on various road conditions. Right. And this was the only spot that they said they had troubles with their emergency vehicles getting around the square. They specifically identified the parking that's at the end of Long Meadow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 spaces that are undesignated, and we said rather than putting up no parking signs there, we recognize that there's not much difference. There's actually no difference between that point and all the other 4 corners. And we didn't want to have sort of asymmetrical condition at that end of the square. So we said, what about just, and we noticed the breaking of the curbs as well. So these have to be replaced and they're just going to get crushed again. So the solution was to pull them in to allow the trucks to go, not only emergency vehicle trucks, but other trucks to get around there. And this was an aesthetic solution that's much better than just having more pavement. We really wanted the kind of shape to be defined clearly and not lose the tight radius that the shape is right now. And it actually does demarcate the difference between county road and what CROA owns. There is no CCDD property between the county road and this square. So I think that was literally
so that's our curb? Is that CROA's curb that's there that's broken up?
Yes.
That is CROA's curb?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
I don't have the specific survey, but it takes that exact shape.
So it would be your recommendation that this solution be
this solution is actually a very good one.
I'm not against the solution at all. I'm just looking at the cost of it and who pays for it and who maintains it. That's what I'm
And where Floyd was
on.
too, or where the CCDD was that, well, this is none of our property. We don't have any control over it. We don't have any
future maintenance responsibilities for this. This is CROA.
Well, that's actually the question I have. If it's not their property, it's not their curb or anything, why would they pay for it?
No, I was under the understanding of the curb, I'm sorry.
And I appreciate your recommendation to have me liaison with this specific committee. The way you said it was that I would be the liaison between CROA and CCDD. You need to do that yourselves, but I would more than happily work with this committee on these specific issues on road configuration and design, which we've been continuing to work with Dave Tomac, the engineers at the county and whatnot. So, but I've never been in an official position. It's always been just sort of resident volunteering to do that. But I think if I could report to you on a regular basis on this issue, I think it'd be a much better situation.
So I'd like to get that agenda so that we could move forward.
So we can,
and I appreciate it. I just think that we would do the community a service by finding the way to make this work a little more effectively.
Yeah, and specifically as we grow with Highland Village and so the road and the bridge that comes in from the CDD, Jeffrey's input on that would be much.
You're actually thinking what I was thinking, which is I'd like to not do something quickly, but actually have a conversation where Jeffrey's involved with certain people here, and you structure this in such a way that it applies in several different areas and accomplishes a goal, because Island Village really matters.
And in that regards, Celebration is a world-class landmark community, new urbanist community, and this is not something to be toyed with on a daily basis. This has to be dealt with by experienced professionals in this specific new urbanist profession. We have a gentleman named Rick Hall, who is a world-class new urbanist traffic engineer who is involved in our committee working with the county right now on specific issues of the pilot study of Celebration Avenue that the county's engaged in. And so we're working with him. I actually recommended to Rick come and give us, CROA board members, CCDD board members, every stakeholder a presentation on the principles of new urbanism, traffic design, and engineering, which would be a 1-2 hour presentation by this very experienced professional. Wonderful guy, easy to listen to. He does this all the time. So in the future, we'll maybe create some date workshop that we could have him come.
That'd be awesome.
Good.
My only final comment on that is just can we reach out to the neighbors around Savannah Square if we haven't already to ensure they're aware and keep them posted as things proceed, so that way they walk out their door and they know what's actually happening.
He did.
Cool. Yes. Thank you.
So my motion stands in a second.
Any
one last question. So Susan, I think this is for you. Down here it says it's a CROA reserve expenditure of $12,694 and operating of $9,504. Why the split?
The 9504 is for the pavers, because the pavers are a new asset as opposed to an existing asset.
Opposed to a replacement.
Okay,
right.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Next item, I would propose that we couple items 20 and 21. This is the motion to approve the purchase of playground equipment and synthetic turf at East Village from Top Line Recreation in the amount of $33,315.67 and $38,078.31 respectively from the CROA replacement reserve expenditure. And the other motion, playground equipment and synthetic turf, North Village from Top Line Recreation, the amount of $54,873.65 and $55,951.81 respectively, CROA replacement reserve expenditure. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, so moved on 20 and 21 to approve.
On both, combining them both.
And the difference in the prices is, well, the East Village is much smaller. The park is much smaller than North Village.
Let's get a second.
I'll second.
That was from Brian.
Brian, you won.
Brian. And so the difference in prices, size of the playgrounds.
And the amount of equipment and the size of the playground.
That's correct.
Is there any further? I know we saw these on our drive around 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes, well, To clarify this, the North Village Playground is the furthest one towards the circular area. That's a 5 to 12 age group. And then the one at East Village next to the pool is 2 to 5 years. So that's the little toddlers area. So they're improved on their action items that the kids can play with, and as we all know, they're very important to child development. So.
And North Village was actually scheduled for a year ago, and it was deferred?
Yes.
And I did one question for you, Todd. I had a resident, and I will be responding. I only got this right before the meeting. That was questioning shade in that area.
North Village.
Can you explain, is there a shaded area? I recall there being some. Is
The
there a
area
canopy?
is heavily shaded.
That canopy that's on the, for the smaller side, is that staying? That's
Yes,
there?
but there's 2 shade canopies there.
They will
Those
be.
are 12 by 12, I believe. So those will stay in place.
So there's natural and artificial shade?
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Correct.
And just one other comment, the synthetic turf was not scheduled until 2023 to be replaced. And so what we're going to do, because typically when you replace that playground, you want all the synthetic turf replaced. I mean, we're a world-class community, so let's make it look that way. And so we're going to have the reserve advisor next year line those up together, so in the future we won't be spending reserve monies prior to it being in the reserve study. It's there, but it's in 2023, and we have enough excess. Brian had asked me this earlier. We have enough in excess in our reserves to be able to absorb the cost of this, the synthetic turf.
And just for the residents, I think, like Todd explained to us, when we walk through those playgrounds, you can see pieces, how it was pieced together. There's new artificial turf, and then you see the stuff that was older and worn, and it's really unsightly. And you really have to replace it all. And when you pull that old equipment out, you got holes. How are you going to patch the holes for the post? They're going to be exposed, those round patches.
So the
you
new
have to replace
equipment
it all.
may have a different footprint than the old equipment.
It does, definitely.
Yeah.
And then you can recycle in other settings some of the old turf?
Yes, anything that's usable, we'll find a purpose for it, like batting cages and infill in certain areas.
Any other questions, discussion? Call a question, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item 22, motion to approve tree pruning at North Village and Spring Park Playgrounds, including removal of a declining oak tree at Spring Park by Yellowstone Landscape, amount of $7,995, CROA replacement reserve expenditure.
So moved.
Thank you. First, thank you. Brian, any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion.
Sad to see it. It's an old tree. We saw it at the ARC. They were discussing it, but for safety, it's.
Are we replacing that tree after it gets pulled out?
We're not replacing it in the same location. We've gone to ARC and talked about putting various trees around the perimeter of the sports field.
Now, right where it goes up to, isn't that artificial turf?
It
that
is,
goes up. So
yes.
what is, you're going to be all on that, Jeffrey, I'm sure. What's going to happen?
We've discussed that. They want it ground down, all the way past the turf like you do any other stump grinding. And then we have pieces of turf from when they originally installed it.
It's going to be another patch job.
Hopefully not as bad as the others. No, it should blend in. We'll make them go to the seams and make it disappear.
I'd like to hear Jeffrey's opinion on this.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. We talked about this in the ARC meeting quite a bit, and we were really sad to know that this tree was not healthy.
Yeah.
And, we have to trust the arborist to say, okay, it potentially could be dangerous. We say, oh, okay. It's right in the middle of our wonderful, there are some other beautiful trees. We want to make sure that those other beautiful trees are protected and have enough water permeating through the turf. And we'd like to get the arborist to comment professionally on that. We don't think that, just cutting this tree down and leaving a stump and trying to do something with that is appropriate. After our meeting, we talked, what else can we do? Is there a different, piece of equipment that could go in there? Is there something else we could do other than a patch? But there's really not much to do other than either put a new tree in of substantial size or patch it completely. And we kind of left the meeting thinking, okay, it's just going to get patched and clean, and hopefully you won't see any variation there.
If it doesn't look like a nice patch, do you think maybe like a small retaining wall with like a flower planter inside of there, or something that we could look at if it isn't going to look right? I don't want it to look like the patch jobs at North Village.
Yeah. The space is big, and if we were to put a new tree in, we'd have to support it while it's healing, so we get these other things, and we'd have to do some kind of protection for a long time so the kids aren't playing with those pieces. So we thought, well, that's problematic to put a new tree in, unless we made it bigger and we did create some kind of seat thing around it. We also talked, maybe there's a new bench that goes in around the hole and we put something in the hole. So there's some design solutions. We could talk about that, but at this point we talked about just patching it.
Okay. So you would support this step right now that's in front of us?
Yes, we do.
Was there any thought that AstroTurf, or not AstroTurf, the artificial turf, is that not letting water get in? Is that what did the tree in?
When it went in, they put down a serious amount of stone base underneath it and sand, and it's heavy-duty stuff. So theoretically, the turf is permeable. It's the base underneath it that is concerning to me, just knowing what it could be doing to these beautiful old oak trees. That, the roots of an oak tree go out horizontally, and I would like to get some professional opinion about the health of those trees over time. So we don't want this to happen again.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion?
Do you mind if I comment on that? After the ARC meeting, I did contact EnviroTree, which is the arborist, and they have been tasked to go out and evaluate the trees to make sure we're doing everything we can to make them survive and not be detrimental, and if there's any alterations that need to be made to the base material to get those recommendations so we can accomplish that.
Okay. Anything more? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Point of personal privilege.
Please.
Could we take a 5-minute recess?
Sure. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
5-minute recess, and we'll come back and move through the rest of these quickly. Thank you. We're back. I propose that for the next 2 items that we put them together, they're of a similar flavor. Motion to approve replacement of the dumpster enclosure gates at Spring Park by Osceola Fence Supply in the amount of $4,530. And replace the pergola timber by in-house maintenance staff at a material cost of $1,000. Total project cost, $5,530. CROA replacement reverb expenditure. The other item, motion to replace the picket fence by Arbors on Flagstone by Osceola Fence in the amount of $1,580. Parkview Townhome Service Area Reserve expenditure. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second. Brian is the second. Jackson is the motion. Discussion. Go ahead.
One thing, Todd, the fence that's going over on Flagstone, from what I understand, that's a PVC connected to a wood, right? 2 different materials. If a resident did this, would that be permitted?
I don't know the answer
at their
to
own
that.
property.
That would be an ARC
because
thing.
I want to ensure that we are leading by example.
I would think that it would be acceptable. Pergolas, those are out of cedar, so you wouldn't really want to put a cedar fence up because it wouldn't hold up to anything. But the PVC fence is definitely the way to go.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I just want to make sure that what we do on our CROA properties would be permitted in single-family homes or anywhere else.
We have to lead by example.
And will the fencing be done by the same company that did the pergola replacement, or is it a different company?
No, it's a different company. That's Susanna's action item, but it's Osceola Fence Company. It's the same one that's going to be manufacturing the dumpster gates. So they're a reputable company.
Yeah, I would just say, as a resident in that neighborhood, that pergola replacement has taken an extraordinarily long time, has been not very I mean, it's been months and months and months to put up one piece at a time. Was there a particular reason for that?
Well, the first one was rebuilt. It wasn't level, so I made them go back and rebuild it. Then it had to sit because it is cedar. It has to season and dry out because you don't want to paint it while it's damp. Otherwise, it just flakes off the paint. And you go back year after year. The second one was rebuilt from the top up. The posts were original.
Right.
And that one had to be done a second time as well because I guess they didn't own a level. And I offered mine. Yeah, that's the things we go through on a daily basis with contractors. It's unfortunate. They make it right at no additional cost, but it takes our time to make sure it's right. And that's what we do.
Any more discussion on these two items? Call the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion for those items 23 and 24 passes unanimously. Item 25, motion to approve the payment of invoices from Performance Roofing, either from reserves or convert from operating to reserves as noted in the amount of $11,647.50 from South Village Service Area Reserve and $7,123 from North Village Charleston Place Service Area Reserve. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second?
I'll second.
That was Jackson.
Okay, would you like me to explain this a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. So, as you know, there have been some roof leaks in 3 service areas as a result of a roof replacement last year. There have been a few active leaks, and to address those with our attorney's advice, we have had a roofer make the repairs with an engineer overseeing the repairs. And basically, those invoices should be paid from the reserves. So half of this is saying, please, can we pay these invoices from the reserve? The other half is saying, oops, we accidentally coded it to operating. Can we switch it from operating to reserve?
Yeah,
That's
that makes
all.
sense. Any
Why-
questions? Go ahead.
If you had an error, why can't you just correct an error?
Because I need your approval.
Anything that we pay out of reserves needs board approval, even if it's $10. So that we have.
So you paid it out of operating, and now
yeah.
you've got to transfer the
Now
cash out of reserves? Okay,
you
gotcha.
got to move the numbers over.
Okay, gotcha.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you?
Any opposed?
Can you?
Okay. Please.
I remember last year, all the roof fixes and everything, and I've seen your emails and stuff like that, but the roof fixes, are they pretty much done? I mean, I know we're going through the
No,
legal
sir.
stuff.
No. What you're seeing now is active leaks. People that are having continuous water intrusion that we're addressing, but as you'll learn more in the executive session, we're addressing this through a construction defect attorney who's going to address this overall situation for the residents.
That's part of our May 7th executive session.
So will this be fixed by hurricane season? It seems like an impossibility since it starts June 15, but.
That would be a challenge.
Okay.
Well, the roofs actually went through Irma because basically all of the roofs had been replaced by June 30th. So the roofs went through Hurricane Irma, and we had, I don't know.
But we're doing a bunch of fixes.
But we're doing some fixes of any active leaks that have occurred since.
How many leaks did we have during Irma? Guesstimate.
I think we probably had, geez. Most of them are in South Village. We have a few in, I think one in Savannah, and a couple, maybe 3
It's a
in.
decent number out of those.
From the hurricane? Or
Yeah.
So there are still active leaks that are occurring.
At this time, yes.
They're ones we've known about, or are we finding new active leaks?
They've all kind of come up in the last, I would say, month.
And when the owners report it to us, that's when we say, we got to get somebody, and we work to schedule somebody to come out there.
So what the attorney does is they send a letter to the roofer, says, this is what's happened, you have an opportunity to come. They haven't been responding, so then we move forward.
Right.
And the residents are all aware of this process too.
Okay.
Item 26, motion to approve the invoices from KWA Engineering for the supervision of roof repairs in South Village and North Village townhomes in the amount of $3,496.68. $2,331.12 from South Village Townhome Service Area Reserve Expenditure and $1,165.56 from North Village Service Area Reserve Expenditure.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. We have Brian motion.
Second.
Vaughn second. Discussion.
This is a follow-up from the last one. This is more KWA, the engineers, overseeing roof repairs.
And the attorney advised us to have KWA document everything that was done in case of whatever's coming.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, actually, sorry. The invoice is dated February 28th, right?
Yes.
So my only question, concern, comment, whatever you may want to call it, this is something by the previous board. So this board is going to come in and approve it because it needs to get done. But if we could figure out any way when outgoing board members change, at least when it's the quorum, to have the board that made these decisions or overseen them or whatever you want to say, have them approve it.
I understand what you're saying. These weren't decisions that the board made. We made a decision, we management, because they had an active leak, that we needed to get them fixed immediately. And the attorney says you got to have KWA Engineering, who's our second engineer, not the one that oversaw the original project, document everything that you're doing in case we have to move forward into any kind of litigation.
So I guess part of the question here is this board has not approved KWA. We don't know anything about KWA. I'm assuming this is on the basis of a recommendation that was made to the previous board.
Right.
Right? Isn't that what you're?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I would like to know more about that at some future date. It might be a workshop item, just to get a sense of, I mean, when we get into litigation, we're going to start asking, I presume, for reimbursement of these fees. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
Right.
It would be good to know a little bit more about what it is that KWA is doing and
But isn't there a going concern concept? I mean,
yeah.
Boards, whether you're talking corporations, government, whatever, have rotation forever. You inherit the previous board's activities and you roll forward with them. You can fix or correct, and somebody will inherit it when we fall off.
Right.
I mean,
is this executive session information, though?
I was going to say, y'all, I know that in preparation for the executive session, you had asked for some timelines and history, and we will provide that to you.
Okay.
So that's going to answer a lot of those questions.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And this is the first board meeting, so this was action in February. So this is the first board meeting where we can approve this.
Right, right.
Okay.
You're right.
Call a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried, please.
Go ahead. I'd like to go back to 24 real quick because I didn't realize, I missed that you were approving my action item 2, and I just want to let you know the question was, would you put a vinyl fence up to a wooden? It clicked on me. I got that approved by ARC. Just
Okay,
saying.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure, so that way when a resident comes by and says, oh, they have it here,
You know what?
we're covered.
I was the ARC coordinator for 3 years. Then I was a community standards for 3 years. So I knew that that would be a concern. So I put it. No,
Thank
I'm
you.
just saying. I knew that if I didn't, that's the kind of thing they would ask: 2 different materials joining up together.
Thank you.
And I think part of the reason that it did get approved is because a couple years ago they replaced one of the picket fences on Celebration Avenue over in Parkview, and that's vinyl too. So it's going to match that fence.
Thank you.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. We have pulled item 27, which is a lot of money for roof replacement. Can I ask why it was pulled, or we're just not ready?
Well, we pulled it because given our history with the last roof project, we did Academy Row, Meeting House Green, no problems. We did South Village, Savannah, and Charleston, had some issues. And so we want to take our time. There's some wood rot there.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we do everything right.
So it's just
Yeah.
crossing the Ts and dotting the Is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Item 28, motion to ratify expenditure for a new point-of-sale system called Toast in an amount not to exceed $8,000, and the ongoing funding of operational expenditures in an annual rate not to exceed $3,500 for the Artisan Park Service Area Clubhouse, Artisan Park Service Area Reserve Expenditure. Motion?
So moved.
Jackson, and second by Vaughn. Any discussion? This is actually a pass-through, if that's the right way to say it, already approved by Artisan Park. We just have the legal obligation to do that.
For a future workshop, can we discuss Artisan?
Sure.
Can we ensure that's on there?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just Artisan in general.
Artisan in general, and our relationship and so on and so forth. I know we're talking about it slightly now.
We love Artisan, is what we want to say.
I love Artisan.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
I don't want to get in their way anymore.
And just to clarify, this payment actually is coming out of Artisan Park Committee's reserve fund. This is not.
That's correct.
Related to any.
Is that not
It's
true?
coming out of Artisan Parks Reserve Fund, but we are responsible as the CROA board.
Oh, I got that.
For their
I got that, but we didn't
expenditures.
give them the money,
Yeah. No,
if you will.
No, it's their reserves.
It's their reserve,
Okay.
yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, call a question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, tab 29. Motion to approve to initiate the fining process for 7 non-compliance items through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine. Motion from. It's our obligation to initiate the fining.
So moved.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So moved by Brian, second by,
Was that not changed to 6?
was that not what?
It was 7 on the,
It's 7.
I know, but even after the agenda, it went down to 6.
So it's now 6.
thank you.
Because there's 9 on this page.
It
here.
initially was 9,
Nine
and it's
on
been
my page.
adjusted to 6.
And what we do,
Which
just
items
so
were
you know, we go out and we inspect these properties at
The day of.
the day of. And so that's what reduced them.
So this is where we're approving to take it back to Covenants, so Covenants can make a recommendation.
Then they,
Say
actually, they make a
yes or
decision.
no.
Comes back to us.
They make the decision.
Yes,
So
50
we-
days, yes, go
So we
ahead.
have a motion, I think, from you. I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I remember when we talked
I'm
about
going
it.
to recuse myself again, because I'm
Okay.
sure I've sat on some of these.
Okay, a second? We just need a second to discuss.
A second.
Thank you, Jackson.
Which item numbers were removed of the 9?
We don't talk about addresses here.
Right, I got that. I just want the
Yeah.
item
There's
numbers.
for
numbers
these-
here, 1, 2, 3, 4 through 9.
There are 9 listed. Which ones do we eliminate?
Number 4,
Okay.
number 6, and number 7.
And 7? Thank you. And Rachel, you had a question.
Who actually called it?
Brian and Jackson.
Okay. I've got Jackson, it's just Brian.
You see, I got a bad
Brian's a
microphone.
slow, he's been a slow
Move
starter.
it closer to your mouth.
Last meeting I had a red one and you heard me fine, but this is green, it doesn't work.
That's why I keep winning.
Do we need any discussion on any of these? These are to be sent to Covenants to address, discuss in detail.
Covenants will actually approve or deny
Yeah.
the fining, and then it moves forward, starting that day, 50 days
Right.
down the road,
$100 a
as
day.
soon as.
And they'll
yeah.
go through the process of reviewing each one in more detail.
Right, and then ultimately, if somebody's not happy with the decision, it comes back to you at an appeals
Right.
meeting.
And many of the boards have been through one appeal.
Yes.
Sitting on this side. I don't know about the other side. No,
Not yet.
any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion 29, motion to approve, to initiate, motion to approve 4 service area intent to liens for the amount of $3,381.35.
$3,831.35.
Yeah,
Three
the-
thousand
Our
three hundred.
agenda's got the wrong number on it.
38.
Oh,
It is.
pardon me?
I'm looking at the page.
$3,831.35
Transcription there.
as summarized at the bottom of the page.
Right.
Thank you for the correction.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian.
Second
And
for
Kevin.
discussion.
Kevin, thank you.
Real quick, Susan, do we know one of these, or any of these, were they recent purchases? Some of them have sub-associations. Do we ensure that they do know they have 2 associations to pay to?
Yes, we take great care in making sure. All of these owners have owned since 2016 or earlier, 1 in 2008, 2 in 2015. All of them owe for their current quarter of CROA. They haven't paid the current quarter. All of them will The intent to lien actually just notifies them, you've got 45 days before we lien your property. So I'm gonna say 90% of the time, the person says, oh my goodness, here, I'm gonna pay my assessment. So you're just moving to notify them, and then we go through the process and send them a last chance email. We send them, you know, we make every effort we can, and none of them have credit. We always check to make sure if they have credit balances on another account, because it's real easy to pay to the wrong entity.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
I have a question.
Please, Vaughn.
We're on discussion. Just a procedural issue. I got to ask Tony. Tony, are they any of these things from 29 on that I need to recuse myself on? Would you, that may have gone through covenants when I was there? Everything's new. Nothing came out of any of the votes and covenants when we were there.
The board votes first, and then it goes to the covenants.
But any of these, any of these go to the covenants committee?
Probably
29 through
not,
34?
just because they're service areas.
Okay.
So they're all service areas, not individual homes.
Starting with number 30.
Yeah,
10,
1, 2,
30.
3, and 4 are all located in service areas.
Yeah, you're asking two different things. So you're looking at tab items 30, 31,
Tab.
32.
Tab
so
items.
Oh, okay.
Are any of those where Vaughn needs to recuse himself? Any of the future agenda
Any of
items?
those gone through covenants in the last few years?
I don't think an intent to lien would.
The assessments, not violations.
Yeah, we're looking at assessments on those last few.
So these are,
This,
these have nothing to do with violations?
no,
That's all-
exactly.
okay.
You're just anxious to find people, aren't you?
No, if I was,
Any further discussion on
not going.
this item? Intent to liens. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Tab 31, motion to approve 14 write-offs of previous owners previous owners' ledger balances in the amount of $1,133.68.
So moved.
From Brian. Second.
Second for discussion.
Okay, thank you.
We met with Susan yesterday and went through the board packet, and this is a question that I had. I used to sit in the audience all the time and hear, yeah, the attorney said, write them off, write them off, write them off. And I go through and I look at this, and yeah, the attorney is just saying, hey, just pay me, but don't worry about it. So I'm having a little concern with that, and I'd like to possibly give a little pushback to the attorney sometimes and see if he could write something off.
Right.
So
Yeah,
go
I mean,
ahead
just-
if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear,
Touch on that.
almost half of the write-off is for attorney's fees.
I would like to suggest to you, give us time to research and reach out to the attorney and perhaps table the motion until the next board meeting, and we'll do the research and we'll push
I'd love to
back.
see
Could be
that.
okay?
I think every dollar counts, so.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. So do we need to withdraw the motion and make a separate motion to table?
Yes.
Is that okay? Are we okay withdrawing the motion?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Jack, okay.
Then I would
So we
make
need
an
new
amended
motion.
motion. I don't know the best way to word this, but to table this for next month and discuss with the attorney a best relationship moving forward for writing off the attorney fees. And if we can, maybe it's going to be a 50%, or, I mean, make the motion however you want it to be. But
How about just a
Rachel,
motion
help me
to
out.
table?
Rachel's gonna,
You're just asking to table the motion.
I'd say,
Oh,
what
there we go.
I would find.
Thank you.
Enjoyed the explanation now.
Thank you.
What
Do you
I
have a
would,
second?
what I would find valuable is actually take each
Second.
column and have explained what each column is and how the decision, I mean, we've got something as small as 21 cents, but what does that column really mean? Who made this decision and how?
Right.
that's.
And
thank
this
you.
is what,
I mean,
this is what Kevin and I went through with Susan, but it was really helpful to do that, and I think it would be good for the
I'd
whole
like it
board.
in writing.
You have pictures,
so,
don't you?
so the motion is to table, that's your motion?
And then
And Jackson's second.
Susan will follow up
And
next month. Cool.
you know what the assignment is for
We've got.
the May board meeting. Any further discussion?
And I'd agree, because if the lawyer's making all these decisions, then I'd like to know how the lawyer's making all the decisions.
Sorry, you're making
Okay.
good money.
And
Come on.
whoever's doing it, so.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 32A, motion to approve owner fee waiver request for items 1, 2, 3, and 4 for 5 late payments and interest in the amount of $154.41.
Move to approve.
Thank you,
Second.
Jackson and Kevin. Any discussion?
My only discussion is I think this board wants to let management manage, and for that purpose, we will take their recommendation. When anything's in the gray, it'll come back to us. So for that purpose, that's what we're moving
Okay,
ahead.
so, and this amount that we've, is in the motion is the management recommendation.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
May I say one thing?
Please.
Our past boards have established that 2 waivers of late fees and interest every 5 years is what they permit. And if you have a CROA account and you have a service area account, that would count as 2 if you missed 1 payment. So what I would like to suggest, and we've got our collections policy resolution at our new collections attorney's office to review. I would like to suggest that we put these to put this in, that management can make the decision based on the board, so that we're not bringing it to you every month. If there's something, if payment plans are paid within a 12-month period, maybe that's something that management can accept, and then we move forward immediately.
Up to a certain amount?
Well, I would say within X number of months.
I mean, okay.
You know, it doesn't matter if they owe $10,000, if they're gonna pay it off in 6 months or 8 months.
If we agree upon the guidelines,
If we agree,
then just process it.
Right.
Unless for some legal reason you need to bring something to a meeting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm fine with that. Do we need to, do you need to write that up and us to approve that as a
Yes.
policy?
Well, I'll work on that with the attorney and then
Work on
hopefully
that
have
and-
it.
And then bring that to, whether it's a workshop or a board meeting, but eventually a board meeting so we can approve that, and that helps expedite things.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Any further discussion? We haven't voted on.
No.
Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. Motion to approve owner fee waiver, motion to approve owner fee waiver request for number 5 and 6 to remove 4 late payments and interest in the amount of $112.28.
So moved.
Thank you from Jackson.
Second.
Second from Kevin. Same comment you had last time, Kevin?
You're fine. Yeah, but yeah, same comment.
This
yes.
is the management recommendation. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next to the last item, tab 33, motion to approve 1 legal request.
So moved.
Thank you, Jackson. We have a second for discussion?
Nobody's gonna second? Giving you a chance, Brian.
Pardon?
I'm
No,
giving
go
you a
ahead.
chance.
I got a question on this one.
I'll second.
Okay, Kevin. Discussion.
When I look at this, I don't see when the payments start. I did the rough math, like, you know, and like in the bottom right, there's 11,416. I did the rough math on the payments. It came out to 11,505. So I'm just trying to understand how the math all works here.
Well, they've gone through the attorney, so our former collections attorney, Becker and Polyakov, and so that's why it's a legal request. So they have suggested, and the math didn't work, and so Rachel went back to them.
Oh,
We have been back and forth and back and forth.
So my calculator's not broke, is what you're telling me.
No, your calculator is not broken.
Okay.
However, and this particular owner has had a payment plan in the past. I believe at this point in time, they have made the down payment. Yes? Yes.
Yeah, and they were holding the down payment in lieu of us
Rachel.
accepting the plan. And, well,
So we can have her on the microphone. So come on up, Rachel. It does.
They actually took a $3,000 check to the attorney, and we're kind of holding the $3,000 in lieu of us accepting the plan. We asked that we be allowed to accept the $3,000 and apply it to the balance as a show of good faith on their part. They agreed with that finally. This is many back and forth things. Some of their stipulations, they didn't want us to apply any more late fees and interest. No, we couldn't stipulate that because of the history of default on payment plans.
So why
accept
are
it
we
now?
still playing
Because
this
it is your
game?
best opportunity to collect these fees at this time.
So this is
It is the best we
bankruptcy
can do.
or?
No, it is just the best we're going to
Some
be able
money
to
is
do.
better than-
In this particular phase of this person's life right now, they are not living in this property, they've got it rented. The renters do not have any amenities, so we've taken some things back. I think that I want to feel that the owners generally want to make this right.
So you're telling us you think there's a good faith
I think it's-
situation here?
I think there is a
and
situation
you're
where
trying
they
to
have-
do the right thing to work with
They
them.
have stepped back and realized that you guys are very serious about getting this money, because we were willing to let them walk away with that $3,000. No, we're not gonna just stand there and let you tell us that you can't, charge fees to the account, all this other, you defaulted before. I do think there's some good faith here, and they've got some skin in the game now.
And they've given us 4,000, not 3,000.
4,000, excuse me.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the check has cleared.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Last item, motion to approve one payment plan request.
And this is one made to us before it got to the attorney.
So we need a motion from Brian, you want to?
So made.
Brian?
Second.
And Vaughn, second. Discussion.
When does this start? That's the one thing that it seems to lack on here is we never,
Not until you approve it.
so if we approve it, it's going to start shortly thereafter.
Immediately.
Okay.
We always encourage them to make a payment.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Next to last agenda item, board comments.
I have one thing to say. Obviously, I know. I was quiet in the beginning. I was still recuperating. So as mediation today, I cannot discuss anything that happens. However, I did want to make a comment to say that our attorneys in Town Center offered an invitation to our general counsel, both as CROA and CNOA and CJC, to just sit on for no expense, for no decision-making, for no commenting, just to sit in and observe for his own information, and he did decline. So I just want to make sure that the entire board is aware of that. I'm sad to see it on all fronts. I think it would have been beneficial for him to have been present to listen. But I did want to just share that. That's all I can really say. That's that.
Board comments. Thank you for an engaging meeting. I know it was thorough. Eventually, our aim is to bring things down in time, being more efficient.
Being old and, did I forget something?
CRS? You had said you wanted to discuss Artisan later on.
Yes,
So-
I mentioned that.
I don't
Like
know
at a
who
workshop.
At a
Like at a
workshop.
workshop.
Oh, okay,
No, not
okay.
tonight. Not
I
later on
thought it was a
tonight. No,
board
no, no.
comment.
So just
It's going to be a long conversation.
couple dates coming up. Our workshop schedule, our next workshop is May 7th. One of the items, as noted earlier, is Island Village. Mattamy and a couple of the staff will be present. And then we also wanted to talk about the committees and the committee membership. We have some other things to bring updates on, website, maybe the newspaper, but several things. So, and that's followed by an executive session with several items.
Will you set it up so I can call into it if I can?
We can set that up for you, Brian, no problem.
Yeah, and then the county workshop or county discussion on May 12th, I believe is the date. And then our board workshops are first and third Mondays, 9:30 to 11:30.
Exactly.
Board workshops. So that's our plan.
May 14th is the county.
May 14th, thank you.
Would it be, I don't know if anybody else is interested, but would it be possible to have Rachel or somebody send us invitations for when CDD meetings are, ARC, covenants and all? Won't go to all of them, but if it's on the calendar, then I'll actually.
They're on the website, you can
Yeah, well,
click on
that requires me to go to the
CCDD.
web. I'm just saying, if I have it on the calendar.
I agree with you 100%.
Because, you know, you plan things.
But I want to feel like a resident, and I want to feel their pain, so we can figure out a way to ensure all the residents can easily access the dates. Because I thought about asking the same thing.
And you have to go to the website in case they cancel, because they do cancel, and they'll put canceled, so you just having the date, just don't show up, check the website.
That's going to be essential for the new website.
Yeah.
But the reason I would like it on our calendars with an invitation is because you said here, we got elected, we've set up travel, it interrupts stuff. You know, if you're gonna try to plan your life 6, 9, 12 months in advance, which I do, then it would be good to get as many of these things on a calendar as possible so you can kind of sit here and say, okay, I'll think about this item.
I don't
would
think
appreciate
we
it.
should get that treatment from management. We can go on, we can sit down, go on the website ourselves, go through the pain of finding the dates and enter it into our own calendar. I know, I wish I could agree with you because I want to, but I think in order to proceed in making the process better and more open and inviting, part of that website might be something where it's a plugin.
If I had a new website, I could do that easily.
It might be a plugin to go ahead and have the dates
The
automatically synced
newspaper.
to your calendar. So that might be the way to go about it.
I do have one quick comment. I want to thank you, David, for the way you're conducting the meetings.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I know that for people that are watching tonight, there was way less drama than they might be used to from a CROA meeting. And I hope that that there's an appreciation that what we're trying to do here is doing business a different way, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank the board. I wish the other two were present. I know they are in spirit. I'm sorry Jack is dealing with his own family issues, and Steve with his family emergencies. Debbie will be back, and hopefully we'll have a full board at the end of May for our meeting then. Thank you all for engaging conversations, good decisions, I think, tonight. A lot of progress. Thank you, Susan, for carrying 2 sets of shoulders tonight.
And for the
Thank you,
books.
JR, everyone.
Right?
Thank you and thank you for our audience for maintaining yourselves throughout the duration. We need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
It's been a long day.
Jackson is so
I will
moved. We need a
second that.
second. Brian, to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.